summer or two of baseball. Our housing program is coordinated by Donna Curtis, Mark Kasprick, and Lisa Zmuda. Without further ado, we would like to introduce our 2021 host families along with their summer sons. First up is the Curtis family hosting Mason Pelio, Doug Hodo, and Luke Boyers. Next up, the Banks Maziarski family hosting Tyler Tuthill. The Barksdale family hosting Jackson Phipps and Chase Jeter. The Clunan family hosting Taylor Smith. The Frostholm family hosting Lucas Gordon. The Griesbauer family hosting Anthony Hall and Jace Borfin. The Heisler family hosting Levi Wells and Antoine Jean. And Alex Price. The Krug family hosting Braden Taylor. The Mancinelli family hosting Anthony DeFabia. The Martin family hosting Jonathan French. The Mamari family hosting Casey Hunt. The McDonough family hosting Charles Harrison and Michael Curiali. The McGann family hosting Danny Garcia. The Miller family hosting Jack Jasiak. The Murray family hosting Mitchell Stone. The Peters family hosting Wesley Sweat and Casey Harford. The Wells family hosting Mikey Tepper. And last but not least, the Zmuda family hosting Cody Colden, Chris Armstrong, and Adam Stone. We would like to ask that the host families please remain on the field with their players while we conclude the pregame ceremonies. Throwing out tonight's ceremonial first pitch, representing the host families, is Bill Heisler. Bill is host dad to Commodores Antoine Jean and Levi Wells. Bill was born and raised on the South Shore in Bridgewater, Mass. After vacationing on the Cape for many years, relocated to Falmouth this past January. Bill has 3 children and 3 beautiful grandchildren. He is an avid sports fan and enjoys gardening, woodworking, and spending time with his grandkids. Bill, let's see a strike. Singing the national anthem tonight is Logan Broadway. Logan is from Sagamore and going into his sophomore year at Bourne High School. He has sung for the majority of his life and currently takes vocal lessons at Steeple Street Music Academy, where he spent the last few years doing community theater and is an aspiring actor. Logan's dad, Stuart, is in the United States Coast Guard and returned in December from an overseas tour. Logan has been a military brat all his life and is grateful to have been able to call Cape Cod home for the past 11 years. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your caps for the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
And now for the 2 words. Kids of all our Commodores host families. We do need at least 1 volunteer.
We're waiting for the other children. Ready? We're gonna go into the microphone. Go. Ready?
Just Brian do it.
3.
Play ball!
Welcome into Gov Fuller Field for tonight's contest between the Falmouth Commodores and the Chatham Anglers. Game 27 on the year. And before we get into this game, you just saw there a really nice ceremony and presentation for all the host families that are hosting players here in this 2021 season. Several families that come together every year and help out the team and just help out the community by bringing these players in. And Matt, we definitely extend a big thank you to all of them.
Well, they are part of the people that make this possible. You see the players on the field, they wouldn't have a place to live, and we wouldn't have an internship to do if the players didn't have a place to live. So just it all stems from that, just extending all their willingness to do that, and it's clearly appreciated by everybody out here.
So again, a big thank you to them. But as we turn to tonight's matchup between the Falmouth Commodores and the Chatham Anglers, the team's 3rd meeting of the season for an East versus West matchup. And this is the 2nd time this year that Chatham will be coming here to Gov Fuller Field. But let's start with Falmouth. The Commodores on another good win streak, 3 straight wins for Falmouth coming into tonight's contest. And after a win last night up in just 6 innings at Cotuit, the Commodores have moved themselves up to 2nd place in the Western Division and at the current moment hold the playoff spot.
Well, this is something we didn't think we'd be able to say just a couple of days ago. 5 straight losses for Falmouth and then 3 straight wins, and that's the current streak they're at. And if you get hot at the right time, you have a chance to make the playoffs in any sport, really, especially with how the West Division's going right now. And you and I were talking about this before the game. This is just unbelievable the way Chatham is in last place in the East, but they're 7.5 games out of first. Falmouth, who is 10 games back of Bourne, is in 2nd place in their division. Just things you probably wouldn't have expected to start this season, but here we are. 10 more games, including tonight in the regular season, on the schedule, weather permitting, obviously. But right now, the Commodores hold a playoff spot. You just got to continue the streak, and you can't slide the way they have been so much this season. It's been streaky. You win a few, lose a few. You win a few, you lose a few. And by that, if it continues that way, they lose the important games down the stretch. So they just have to avoid that, and they should be in a pretty good spot. Just win the games you need to win, and that's going to be it.
Falmouth comes into tonight 11-13-2 on the season. They've won their last couple of home games, and like we were just saying, currently riding a 3-game winning streak. They haven't had a winning streak longer than 3 games this summer, so an opportunity tonight to extend that and make it what would be the longest win streak of the season. But they take on a Chatham team that they're familiar with. This is the only Eastern team that the Commodores will play 4 total times this summer. Haven't played them since June. That was when the Commodores played their first 2 matchups against the Anglers. One here and one at Veterans Field out in Chatham. But Falmouth with a 1-0 record so far on the year, so unbeaten against this Chatham team.
Yeah, and they got a phenomenal start last time for the Commodores at Chatham at Veterans Field. That was from Trey McLaughlin, and that probably helped him get drafted by the New York Mets in the draft just a couple of days later. but they haven't seen this team in about 3 weeks. So it's a new look, really. The core of this Chatham team, despite the way they're playing, it's been a lot of Vanderbilt. And it's Matt Hogan up at the top of the order and Max Romero, both of them out of Vanderbilt, both in the top 4 in the lineup tonight. So, again, just getting a good start on the mound is what this team has done over the last couple of days, except for last night. But the offense backed up the pitching yesterday. Over this win streak, though, it's really been the pitching. And you got a good start from Mikey Tepper last time here at home. That was on Friday night. He went 5 scoreless. The bullpen was scoreless as well. The day before that, or the game before that, rather, against Bourne, Jack Jasiak went 6 innings scoreless. So if your starter can give you innings tonight in Mason Pelio, which we haven't seen him really do so much in his starts. He went 5 innings in his last start, but other than that, it's been a little bit of a struggle on the mound. Hasn't won any of his starts. He's 1-3 on the season, the only win coming out of the bullpen. But if he gives them a good start, the offense, the way it played yesterday, if you take that into tonight, you're going up against a team that you're not really familiar with, although you played them twice, because their core is new. But just, again, it starts with that pitching staff, and especially here at home, where the Commodores shockingly have still only won 3 games. And I think you and I both still can't wrap our heads around why, but if they're able to get that good start from Pelio, they should be in a pretty good spot to carry that offensive momentum from yesterday.
The Commodores with a 3-8-1 record here at Gov Fuller Field this season as the team takes the field for tonight's matchup against the Chatham Anglers. Talked about Mason Pelio tonight. He'll be making his 4th start of the season, a guy who is still yet to pitch on the road for Falmouth. All of his outings, his 4 starts now, and his 6 total appearances on the bump have come here at home. Last time he pitched was against Hyannis on July 18th, and that was when Hyannis came in here and walked out with a 5-1 victory. In that start, Pelio went 5 innings, gave up 2 runs, and allowed 6 hits. But Falmouth that night only able to bring across 1 run of offense. And you said it, in this win streak, and really as of late for Falmouth, it hasn't been the offense that's gotten the job done. That happened last night in Katuitt. But for the most part, and on a more consistent basis, it's been the pitching that's been real solid for this Falmouth team.
Well, in the start of the win streak, and if you look back to the losing streak as well, they gave up a lot of runs in that losing streak. Gave up 8 runs to start against Brewster, 4 to Harwich, which is pretty decent, but you only put up 1. 5 to Hyannis, but you only put up 1. Bourne, you give up 9 runs in that first game against them last week, and you only put up 8, or you do put up 8. That was just a heartbreaking loss. Then you give up 7 to the Whitecaps on the back half of that losing streak, or the back end rather. But then you pitched phenomenally well against the Bourne Braves in the second meeting of the week on Wednesday night, and you win 4-2. So your offense doesn't need to do too much when the pitching is on point like that. You just need a couple of runs. You obviously need to score to win, but if your pitching really limits the damage of the opponent's offense, you're going to be in a good spot. Then you get a shutout from your entire staff, and you only put up 2 runs, but that's enough to win, and that's all you need. Just limit the damage, and you're able to win. Last night they gave up 4 runs to the Kettleers, but the offense exploded for the first time in, I don't even know how long, because it feels like it's just been so quiet offensively. But if they can carry that momentum into tonight and continue that pitching, they should be in a pretty good spot to face against the Chatham Anglers.
The 9 runs that the Commodores put up last night, the 4th time this year that Falmouth brought across 9 runs. And Danny Soretti out of UNC will lead things off for this Chatham team here at the Gov for the 2nd and final time this season, and the 3rd meeting of the year against these Falmouth Commodores. Pelio set, and the first pitch home coming in at 6:04, and it's in for a ball. And we're underway here on a cloudy night here from Gov Fuller Field. Had some rain earlier today here, but haven't had a drop in pretty much the last 4 hours as the rain moved out into the Atlantic. Temperature hovering in the mid-70s here at first pitch. And not too much wind. That's carrying out towards center field. And there's the first strike of the night for Mason Pelio. And the count's now 2-1 here on Danny Soretti. Soretti playing in his 16th game out of UNC Chapel Hill. Hitting .255 on the season for the Anglers. As he fouls this one back. Soretti, originally a New Jersey native from Berkeley Heights, New Jersey. Just finished up his sophomore year down at Chapel Hill. a 2-2 pitch now from Pelio upstairs, and the count goes full. Soretti will lead things off and plays at short. Matt Hogan stands on deck and plays in right field. Caden Trenkle in the hole and is out in center tonight. Max Romero Jr. does the catching. He's the cleanup man. Kenny Lavari, the 5-hitter, plays at third. Garrett Martin, the designated hitter, is the 6-hitter. Jake DeLeo, the 7-hitter, plays out in left field. Lyle Miller Green, the 8-hitter, plays at first. And Matt Garcia will round out this lineup at second base for the 10, 16, and 3 Chatham Anglers. Here's another 3-2 pitch for Mason Pelio and a tying away, and that's ball 4 on Danny Soretti. So a leadoff walk allowed by the Boston College pitcher. And we'll see how he continues through this inning with Matt Hogan coming up.
Matt Hogan.
That's the 12th walk that Pelio has allowed this season, and he's had at least one walk in every outing on the mound this year for Falmouth. As another left-handed hitter, Matt Hogan out of Vanderbilt, comes up now, hitting .268 for these Anglers. First pitch to him, and it's a called ball. Tonight, a matchup of a couple of Boston pitchers. Pelio out of Boston College, and the starter for Chatham is Sebastian Keene, who plays at Northeastern. So a couple of guys who spend their collegiate seasons about an hour and a half up the road, as the count goes even to 1-1 now. Hogan played in 19 games this past season for the runner-up Vanderbilt Commodores. Hit just .154 in those 19 games. Didn't see the field too much. Just 13 at-bats, 2 total hits on the season in his junior year down in Nashville. But he's come in and been a good addition to this Anglers lineup. 6 doubles, 2 home runs already. Guy that's seeing Falmouth for the first time this year. As the 1-1 pitch fouled back, and 1-2 now. A lot of early foul balls from this Chatham team, but yet to put one in play.
Well, Chatham's a team that strikes out more than anybody in the entire league. 310 times they've struck out this season. Hyannis is in second with 294, so a big difference there. But tonight we've seen them, at least the first 2 hitters, foul off a couple of pitches with 2 strikes to try and continue their at-bats.
Really close play over at first, but Soretti back in safely. He's a guy who has 3 stolen bases on the season, and that was the first pickoff attempt by Pelio. But it was about as close as you could have asked for. Pitch home. It's outside now, 2-2. Talk about all those strikeouts that this Chatham team has. In the team's first meeting of the season, which was the season opener way back on June 20th, Falmouth struck out Chatham 13 times. And then in the team's second meeting at Veterans Field, 8 strikeouts for the Falmouth pitching staff. So they've set down the Anglers 21 times this season. And like you mentioned, this Chatham team really strikes out a lot. They strike out, and their pitchers strike out a lot of guys a lot. So get a good mix of that during a ball game. Count sits full here on Matt Hogan. Second straight batter for Pelio, who's reached a full count. As running on the pitch is Soretti. The throw down to second, and a high throw. They're going to say he's out. So a strike him out, throw him out for the Commodores, as there's quickly 2 gone here in the inning.
Now batting the center fielder from Oklahoma.
And that'll help out Pelio.
Number 49, Caden.
Well, Pelio turned to Jonathan French, the catcher, and was all kinds of excited after that. Fist pumps, everything, yelling at Jonathan French. And we've seen our fair share of runners get thrown out by French and Taylor Smith, but that has to feel good here in the first inning after a leadoff walk, especially for Pelio, who now has to work just a little bit less.
So it could have been 2 guys on with nobody out, but instead it's 2 outs, nobody on. Here's Caden Trenkle for Chatham. And he puts a ball in play over to the right side. Michael Curiali there. And despite the leadoff walk, Mason Pelio ends up facing the minimum here in the first as we go to the bottom of the first. Scoreless between Falmouth and Chatham.
Oh my good Lord, what a feeling. All of this joy I've been stealing. We all need someone that can make us believe. So call me a man on a mission. I'm guilty by my own admission. Locked up but I break free. No change gonna take me. Can't stop. Don't stop now. Just a bit longer. We can talk about it later. Can't stop, won't stop, don't stop now.
Hang on. Wait till the catcher throws down to second. Bottom of the first here from Gov Fuller Field, and Sebastian Keane will take the mound for his third start of the season. The 6'3" right-hander out of Northeastern, who comes into tonight with an 0-1 record on the year. That only decision coming against the Commodores back on June 29th, where he pitched 3 innings in that start and gave up 3 runs, 5 total hits, and got the loss in what ended up being an 8-1 loss for Chatham that night out at Veterans Field. But he takes the mound for the first time on the road this season, and he'll face Cody Colden to start off this ball game. First pitch from Keane. It's on the outside part of the plate, and it's just outside for a ball. Colden leads off for the Commodores and plays at third. Casey Harford, the 2-hitter, plays at short. Jace Borfin out in right field, bats third. Chris Armstrong doing the cleanup duties, playing at first. Taylor Smith, the designated hitter, and bats fifth. Anthony Hall out in left field, bats sixth. Michael Curiali at second, bats seventh. Jonathan French does tonight's catching and bats eighth. And Luke Boyers rounds out this lineup, playing in center field for the Commodores. Colden puts a good charge into this one, and it'll get down into center field as it falls in front of Caden Trenkle. And Cody Colden, who had a 3-game hitting streak, snapped last night after going 0 for 5, comes into tonight, and on his second swing of the night, he puts a ball in play for a leadoff single.
For Casey Harford.
That'll bring up Casey Harford, playing in his 7th game now for the Commodores, out of the University of Tennessee Martin. And fouls a pitch off in the direction of the Commodores bullpen. So Colden yesterday 0 for 5, but he didn't have a single strikeout. Was able to put a ball in play every time he stepped up to the plate, and he puts a ball in play again here to start off this ball game. So he's seen the ball well as of late. Just couldn't yesterday get one to drop in his favor. And this one down the third baseline. Good stop by Kenny Lavari. The throw over to second in time, then on to first. And they can't get the out there. But a really impressive play as Kenny Lavari with the backhand pick is able to get the lead man in Cody Colden out.
That ball hit hard by Harford. He swings at a lot of strikes. He doesn't really chase out of the zone. And the throw over, or the hit hard hit onto the third baseman, Lavari, had to slide towards the line, then spin around, turn to second, and fire a throw there. They never really had a chance for a double play because Harford has a lot of speed, and he realized that he probably had to run to avoid the double play, and he did. So just a good play to get the lead man out by the third baseman, Lavari.
So still a guy on first for the Commodores, but now one gone for Jace Borfin, who's behind the count 0-1. Pitch now from Keene is inside, but it's squibbed just past him. Harford will be safe at second. The throw to first is in time to get Borfin out. So Harford able to move up on an odd swing there from Borfin.
Now batting the first baseman from the University.
You get a guy in scoring position here in the first inning after a scoreless one from your pitcher in the top half. You have one of the hottest hitters on the team up in Armstrong in a really good spot with 2 outs to bring somebody home. And we've been talking about this over the last couple of days, but the offense, when it struggles, is stagnant and it doesn't move guys around. You just have a ground out that moves a guy into scoring position. Now with 2 outs, if you can bring him home, that's huge to get the lead.
First pitch low to Chris Armstrong, who's the second best hitter in this Commodores lineup, hitting .296 on the season, and had a really good game yesterday up at Katuitt, going 2 for 3 with 4 RBIs, including launching his 5th home run of the season. He's ahead in the count here, and he'll stay ahead, now 2-0. Well, this is a Chatham team, especially from a pitching standpoint, that has struggled on the road this summer. A team ERA of 5.68 away from Veterans Field, and allowing opponents to hit .257 against them. See what Falmouth can do here in this ball game. Scored 7 runs against the Anglers in the team's first meeting of the season here at Gov Fuller Field. But like we mentioned, this is the first outing for Sebastian Keene away from Chatham this summer. Two-one pitch comes inside and making now 3-1 here for Chris Armstrong. Casey Harford leading off of second after reaching on a fielder's choice. And a pitch on the outside corner of the plate. And a full count here to Chris Armstrong. Tonight's home plate umpire, E. Tyler Bullock. At first is Mark Furtado. And over at third, Joe Hilton. Here comes the payoff pitch from the right-hander, and it's outside. And the Commodores now with 2 guys aboard. Still 2 gone here in the first.
Talked about it with pitching coach Mike Landry yesterday before the game at Katuitt. What does this offense need to do, or the team in general, to be successful over the next next 10 games, the final stretch of the season, to make the playoffs? And offensively, he said, get guys on and move them over. Now you got 2 guys on with 2 outs. Taylor Smith, who's been swinging a powerful bat, not a hot bat, but a powerful one. So if he can get that timely hit, that would be huge to start this game for Falmouth.
Smith homered in the last game here at Gov Fuller Field a couple nights ago against YD. Drove home one of the 2 runs for Falmouth in that ball game. First pitch here to the catcher. Well, tonight's designated hitter, but typically catcher is inside for ball 1. Smith yesterday 0 for 1 with a couple of walks at Katuitt. Hitting .196 on the season. He's 10 for 51 at the plate. 4 total home runs, and like I just said, 1 here back on Friday. Puts a good charge into this one, and that's going to fall down for a base hit and produce some extra bases for Smith. Coming in to score, Casey Harford moving up to third, is Chris Armstrong. And how about that for Taylor Smith, who has his 8th RBI of the season. And Falmouth jumps ahead first here. It's 1-0 Commodores.
Well, the first pitch he got was inside. He checked his swing, didn't go around. That one more on the plate, but also on the inside corner. And as a power hitter and a right-handed hitter, he likes that pitch on the inside half so that he can get his hands through it quicker instead of having to reach and have a longer swing to take it into right field. He knows he likes to pull the ball often, and he gets one on the inside part of the plate that he can turn on and rip it into left field to bring home tonight's first run and continue moving runners on base. Now you got 2 guys in scoring position and already with a lead.
And here's another guy who's had a good bat as of late, Anthony Hall, who's 5 for his last 11 at the plate, went 2 for 3 last night with a double and an RBI at Katuitt. And he's stepping in now with 2 guys in scoring position for Falmouth. That lead man coming home to score, Casey Harford. Now just the 3rd time this summer that Falmouth has scored first at home. And this ball lined into left field, but positioned perfectly is Jake DeLeo. And that'll end the inning. But the Commodores able to bring home the first run of the ball game, courtesy of Taylor Smith with his 8th RBI of the season. And we'll move to the second. Falmouth on top, 1-0.
Hey baseball fans, do you think you can throw faster than a Commodore? Well, you won't know unless you try. Head down to the intern tent and test your skill at fast pitch. The winners in each age group will win an ice cream cone donated by Smitty's at their 326 East Falmouth Highway location. If fast pitch isn't your thing, try our new game.
This day is gonna be the greatest memory, making history. Let's go. You don't need no luck with that golden touch. Time to light it up. Let's go. Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Yeah, this is it. Go! Let's go! This is it.
Three of the 5 games tonight in the CCBL are matchups between East and West, including this one here between Falmouth and Chatham. Commodores with an early 1-0 lead as we move to the second. And 4, 5, and 6 set to come up for the Anglers here in this half inning. Max Romero Jr. out of Vanderbilt will lead things off for the visiting side. And he fouls off the first pitch from Mason Pelio, who faced the minimum back in the first, gave up a leadoff walk to Danny Soretti, and then produced a strike him out, throw him out to Soretti, and then Matt Hogan struck out. And then Caden Trenkle grounded out to end the inning. Romero, the only guy yesterday in Chatham's loss to Bourne, a 2-1 loss for the Anglers to produce a multi-hit game. He went 2 for 4 at the plate in that loss to the Braves. And Chatham also one of the 3 teams that's part of the Beat Bourne Club this summer alongside Katuitt and Falmouth. The only 3 losses that the Braves have this year as the count goes even out to 2-2. But Matt, last night with Bourne taking down Chatham, the Braves locked up the number 1 seed in the West and will likely soon lock up the entire number 1 seed for the postseason. This ball hit back up the middle, and that's going to find its way into the outfield for the first base hit of the ball game for the Anglers. Max Romero Jr. stays hot at the plate, his 16th hit of the summer, and he's on first.
Now batting the third baseman.
Well, this was hit right back up the middle and just nicked the glove of Pelio when he came around, put the glove behind his back to try and knock it down. If that had more leather, probably would have kept it in the infield and maybe would have had a play on it, but it would have been close. But just misses his glove, and he let out a little bit of frustration after that. And again, allowing the leadoff guy to get on. But in the last inning, his fielders and his catcher helped him out with that.
Kenny Lavari swings through strike one and is now behind in the count.
And going back to Bourne clinching a playoff spot already, I mean, the entire East Division is up for grabs almost. Chatham's a little far out, but in terms of the top three right now, with Brewster, Harwich, and YD, it's close. And Orleans is not too far off either in fourth. If one of those teams makes a run and the teams on top currently, if they slide a little bit, it's going to be different. And so right now, Falmouth on their side of things has to just worry about themselves, I think, just winning every game they can. And then Catuit and Wareham, depending on what they do, will either help them with a loss or they're going to have to work a little bit harder if they win.
Every team tonight, or every game, matters as we get further and further down the stretch, and including tonight's game, every team with 10 games remaining on the schedule. So this would be game 30 for all the teams if any team had played that many up to this point. Nobody has. Chatham, with the most games played in the league at 29, but like you said, Matt, sit at last place in the East with their 10-16-3 record, a 397 mod win percentage, and Brewster leads the division with a 667 mod win percentage. But if any of Falmouth, Wareham, or Catuit were in the East, they'd be sitting in fourth in the division, but all still with a run up for grabs here in the West.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about that Bourne already clinched a spot, and they're 10 games ahead of Falmouth, who's in second place. So Falmouth, really, all they have to worry about is winning games they can, and then Catuit and Wareham behind them losing. And the way you do that is by beating them, and we saw that last night. You beat the Kettleers, and then you move up above them. So not only do you pick up a win, but you give them a loss, and that changes a lot. So a couple more games against Hyannis could help, a couple more games against the Kettleers, and a couple more against Wareham as well.
Counts it's full here on Kenny Lavari. And this pitch fouled off. Third time tonight that Mason Pelios had a full count on a Chatham hitter. And after tonight, Falmouth will have, like you said, 2 more games against Hyannis. The Harbor Hawks will come here on Tuesday, and then the Commodores will go out to Hyannis on Friday. 2 more meetings against Catuit this summer, 2 more against Wareham, and just 1 more against Bourne. So still a lot of games left against these Western Division teams. This one's going to be hit through the right side, and it's going to find its way to Jace Borfin's glove in right field, but back-to-back singles for the Anglers, and they now have runners on first and second.
Back-to-back singles that haven't been hit really hard, just finding holes through the infield on the ground. That's the way that Romero singled up the middle, and that's the way that Lavari follows with a single in between Armstrong and Curiali into right field. So Pelio can be happy that he's dealing up ground balls. Just unfortunately, so far, they've been finding holes in the infield.
That base hit for Lavari, his 3rd base hit of the summer. As that'll bring up Garrett Martin, now the designated hitter tonight for Chatham. Martin, tall guy, 6'4" catcher for this Chatham team, who swings through strike 1. Like I said, tonight the designated hitter, but moves around in this lineup for the Anglers. Chatham threatening here in the top of the second after Falmouth brought home a run in the bottom of the first, courtesy of Taylor Smith. And time called right as Pelio came home with the pitch. Jonathan French, the guy who called time. So that pitch doesn't count, and the count will remain 0-1. Lights on here at Gov Fuller Field on this cloudy evening. Typically the lights come on here a little after 7 o'clock, but with the gray skies tonight, opting to put them on a little earlier. As Pelio ahead, now 0-2. First time tonight he's had an 0-2 count on a batter. So we'll see how everything plays out down the stretch for all these teams. May help Falmouth a bit that from their day one roster up into tonight, they haven't had much turnover on the team as Mason Pelio picks up his first strikeout of the evening and also the first out of the ball game or of the inning.
Now batting the left fielder from Georgia Tech, number 2.
But if you go back to look at Falmouth's opening day game against Chatham, the Commodores had 5 guys in that starting lineup who are still on this Falmouth team. Luke Boyers, Braden Taylor, Jace Borfin, Jonathan French. Actually, make it 6. Anthony Hall as well as Michael Curiali. So 6 of the 9 guys in the starting lineup for Falmouth on that opening night of the season still on this Falmouth team. And a lot of teams can't nearly say that as much about. Only Jake DeLeo and Lyle Miller Green for Chatham still in tonight's lineup and also on that opening night lineup. But that consistency and that fact that they're playing with one another every day could really benefit Falmouth down the stretch here. Counts it at 2-0 here to Jake DeLeo. And he pops this one up into center field. Luke Boyers doesn't have to move anywhere, and he gets under it for the grab. Just had to turn his head up, follow the ball to his glove, and pick up out number 2.
Now batting the first baseman from Chipola College, number 13, Lyle Miller Green.
Brings up the 8-hitter, Lyle Miller Green, for his first at-bat of the night. First baseman tonight for the Anglers out of Chipola College. So DeLeo and Miller Green, the only 2 guys for Chatham on that opening night roster who are here starting tonight as well. And they bat back-to-back here for the visiting side. As Pelio head in the count now 0-1.
Miller Green reached base 4 times on opening night. Went 3 for 4, had a walk, a couple of singles, and a 2-run shot. And we thought that was a bomb, but then after that we saw Reggie Crawford hit an absolute shot here, so it got topped, but he'll look to do it tonight again. He's been pretty successful against the Commodores.
The other bomb that comes to mind, back on Tuesday, Trey Faltini of Brewster hitting a home run off of the scoreboard here at Go Fuller Field. It hit up around by where the miles per hour are displayed on the scoreboard, so it got out of here in a hurry, and it had some height to it as well to be able to hit that scoreboard. As that's strike 3 for Mason Pelio, who gives a little shout towards the dugout as he comes off of the mound. Gives up a couple of singles to start the inning, but then 2 Ks and a pop-out help him get out of the brief jam. We'll move to the bottom of the second. Still 1-0 Falmouth here from Go Fuller Field.
Now batting the second.
Commodores leading 1-0 as we move to the bottom of the second and looking to extend that off of Sebastian Keene, who's making his second start of the season against the Falmouth Commodores and his first start on the road for Chatham. As Michael Curiali will lead off the inning for the Commodores. And he takes ball one outside. Michael Curiali comes into tonight hitting .205 on the season. Was in a slump before yesterday's ball game where he went 2 for 3 with an RBI against Catuit. But coming into yesterday's ball game, Curiali was 0 for his last 17 at the plate and just 1 for his last 23. So able to pick up a couple of base knocks last night, up that average back above 200. And he's hit well against Chatham this summer, 4 for 9 with 3 RBIs in the 2 games against the Anglers. As he bloops this one into shallow center field, coming on is the center fielder Caden Trenkel, who calls off Matthew Hogan, and that's out number 1.
Curiali got jammed up just a bit on the hands, but his power to the other side, to the right side of the field, has been there all season. It's just a matter of them getting them to fall in for base hits, which he had a couple last night, but that one just a little bit in on the hands, which popped it up. But again, still, he didn't barrel it up, and he hit it out to the outfield. If he can hit that on a line off the barrel, he's probably got himself a hit.
Jonathan French watches strike one from Keene. French, another guy who's been in a little bit of a slump as of late, going 1 for 3 yesterday against Catuit, and ending a slide for him where he was 0 for his last 13 at the dish. 10 total base hits on the season for the Clemson catcher. And he takes the ball outside. Count goes to 1-2 now here on French. At home this summer, Jonathan French 2 for 20 at the plate. So 8 of his 10 hits have come away from the Gov. He also has 5 walks here at home. So he's reached base 7 times here at home. But he swings through strike 3, and Sebastian Keene has his first strikeout of the night for out number 2.
Now batting the center fielder from Texas Christian University, number 28.
So French goes down, and that brings up the 9-hitter Luke Boyers. Boyers out of TCU, and watches ball 1 come in. Boyers yesterday 0 for 3, but 2 RBIs in the ball game against Catuit. He had a sac fly and then also walked to bring home a run. So those were the 2 RBIs that he picked up in the ball game. Easy RBIs that I'm sure he'll take any day. And he's ahead in the count now at 2-1.
That's the thing about getting guys on and moving them around. Timely hitting doesn't have to just be getting hits. If you put the ball in play or you have a good at-bat and work a walk, guys are going to move around the bases, and that's what Luke Boyers helped with last night, despite not getting a hit.
And he's ahead now 3-1 here against Sebastian Keene, who's already issued 1 walk tonight to Chris Armstrong back in the first. And the 3-1 now from the right-hander is in for a called strike from E. Tyler Bullock. So Keene working pretty quickly out on the mound. As soon as the batter's bat comes back, he has his sign and starts to come home, and he does so now with a full count pitch, and it's fouled off. So Boyers will see another one. Falmouth with 2 base hits so far in the ballgame, both of those coming back in the first. As this one popped out of play behind the Anglers dugout, and we'll continue to do it all again. Tonight, the start of a home-and-home between Falmouth and Chatham. Commodores will be in Veterans Field tomorrow as that one lands on the numbers for Luke Boyers, and he'll take the trot down to first.
That was nowhere close to a strike out of the hand of Keene. Just kind of held it a little too long. And it was headed for Boyers the whole way. He had no chance of getting out of the way of that. But he'll take it. Getting on base without getting a hit. Boyers just continues to be successful at getting on and continues the inning. As the second leadoff man, we've seen him and Colden really in the 1 spot or the 9 spot really all season. And when both of them get on base, especially with Boyers tonight in the 9 spot over the last couple of days, he's almost the second leadoff man.
Third time this summer that Boyers has been hit by a pitch, and Cody Colden will watch ball 1 come in. Colden singled to center in his first at-bat, and then was out at second on the fielder's choice by Casey Harford. And a pickoff over towards first, but Luke Boyers back in safely. Boyers with 3 stolen bags on the summer. A Falmouth team that has 21 total stolen bases this year. Outside of Jace Borfin, not many other guys run too often. As this one hit hard and through the left side as it goes off the glove of Danny Soretti. And so that'll be another base hit for Cody Colden, who has himself a 2-hit night in his first 2 at-bats. And that's just the second time this summer that the Washington State Cougar has a multi-hit game.
Well, he's hitting the ball hard, and he's finding holes, finally, Cody Colden, because he's been hitting the ball hard all season. He almost barrels it up every single time. Rarely does he pop out. He hits line drives, and you're going to be successful at some point if you continue to hit that way, and he's found 2 holes tonight.
So a little rally going here for the Commodores with a couple of outs in the inning as Casey Harford fouls the first pitch off. A hit by pitch and then a single is how the Commodores got their 2 base runners aboard. Max Romero Jr., the catcher, going to come out, give some signs to the infield before coming back behind the plate. Harford, the only run of the ball game after scoring on the RBI double from Taylor Smith. And he's late on the swing and behind in the count now at 0-2. Colden on first, Boyers on second. Here in a 1-0 ball game for Falmouth in the bottom of the second. 0-2 delivery on the outside corner of the plate, and Sebastian Keene is going to end the inning with his second strikeout of the night. Is able to paint the black for that one. Commodore strand a couple as we move to the third, leading by 1. We move to the third as Mason Pelio still on the mound for the Commodores. And the first pitch to Matt Garcia. He grounds over to Michael Curiali, who has an easy time for the first out of this inning. So 1 pitch, 1 out for the Boston College pitcher.
First time tonight that Pelio's gotten a leadoff man. Now we'll see if he can have a quick inning here. Just 1 pitch, 1 out to get the first guy. And now you got to go back to the top of the order, but that gives you some confidence on the mound.
Like you said, back to the top of the lineup here for Danny Soretti, who reached on a walk back in the first. And shows bunt before pulling back, but a called strike on the outside part of the plate. During that half inning, saw some dogs through our cameras here on the broadcast. Great night to bring them out. Not too hot, so it's a comfortable evening for them and a comfortable one for their human as well. Here's the 1-1 delivery from Pelio, and it's now 2-1.
I know a couple of teams around the league have a bark at the park, but I don't think the Commodores do.
Fortunately, though, dogs welcome every night, as this one is ripped into right field, and that's going to drop down and one hop the wall for a base hit. Rounding first and going into second is Danny Soretti, and he has himself a 1-out double, his first extra base hit of the season for the Anglers, and it comes with 1 gone.
That ball was smoked into right field, and Borfin was playing more towards the right center gap than he was to right field, so you could see right away he just had to run all the way towards that corner and then had a good throw in, but it was going to be a stand-up double the whole way once that went all the way to the fence in right field.
That brings up Matt Hogan, a dangerous hitter here for the Anglers, who struck out looking in the first. And the first pitch outside from Pelio. So the Anglers had 2 aboard in the second and had a runner reach as far as second with no outs in the inning, but then Mason Pelio was able to pick up 3 straight outs, 2 of which came via the K, and ended up getting out of the small jam. See what he can do here with Soretti on second, and the count even at 1-1 here on Hogan. Going back, though, to the dogs, have you ever brought a dog to bark in the park?
I have not.
I've done it a couple times, and I'll say it's one of the toughest things ever because the dogs want to all sniff one another, and they obviously have zero interest in watching the game. And if it's a hot night, it just makes things even tougher for them.
Yeah, I can't imagine that, especially a baseball game, just a long day. Maybe a little pregame festivity, but then after that, I'm sure they all chase each other and try to go up to each other.
The one that I went to, they left out giant pools of water for the dogs to drink, but instead dogs would just sit down in the water to try and cool themselves down. And so you'd have dogs sitting in the water, dogs licking. Some may have peed in it. I mean, it's all over the place.
Now imagine if they had that for humans.
It'd be like in Arizona. They've got the pool out in right field.
Yeah.
For you to watch a game in. Here's the 2-2 from Mason Pelio, and it's fouled into the backstop. And the count remains at 2-2. And I think I also saw once there's a minor league ballpark. I don't know where. It may be down in the Texas area that has a lazy river beyond right field. I can't remember for sure where, but I know at one point I saw and read something about it. 2-2 again from Pelio, and this one hit into a similar spot. Borfin going back. He's going to turn, and he's going to watch it sail out of Gov Fuller Field. Matt Hogan goes yard for the 3rd time this season, and he jumps ahead of the Commodores. It's now 2-1 Anglers, as Matt Hogan will touch them all here at the Gov.
Hogan has just been unstoppable since he got here. His first game was July 4th, and that's crazy to think about. He's already had 5 multi-hit games, now 3 home runs. He roped that ball on a line over the head of Borfin and over the fence. Borfin knew it right away, too. He just turned and looked, and that was it. And Hogan has just been hitting the ball unbelievably well.
First pitch to Caden Trinkle, and he grounds out to Michael Curiali. But like you said, Matt Hogan, the top hitter, or one of the top hitters in this Angler lineup, coming into tonight hitting 268 on the year, and he's going to up that average with that home run.
And he hasn't had too much experience at Vanderbilt over the last 3 years, but was the #1 player in the outfield out of New York and the #7 player overall. And just incredible out on Long Island he was. Suffolk Player of the Year in Suffolk County. This is a guy that I grew up playing as the same age as Matt Hogan on Long Island and always heard the name about. I never got the chance to play against him, but he was a guy I always heard the name of, especially when he committed to Vanderbilt at such a young age in high school. And it's been fun watching now finally in person for the first time he hits a home run. So that ball was hit as hard as we've seen on a home run here at the Gov this summer.
Counts it at 2-1 here on Max Romero Jr., the other Vanderbilt player in this lineup for the Anglers. And neither of these guys saw the Commodores in the first couple of games between these two teams this summer because they were both still playing with Vanderbilt. Now that those seasons done here on the Cape, as Romero's ahead 3-1. Romero, not too much more playing time than Hogan this past summer or this past season with Vanderbilt, but he did see the plate a little bit more. 50 total at-bats for the Commodores, hit 300 in those at-bats, and he did play in 2 games in the College World Series this past year. Had an at-bat against Mississippi State in the June 29th meeting and hit a home run in it. He had 1 at-bat, and he turned it into a home run, so he capitalized on that outing as he grounds this one to Curiali, and Curiali records all 3 of the outs in this inning, but Matt Hogan out of Vanderbilt goes yard for the 3rd time this summer, and Chatham now on top 2-1 here from the Gov. Sebastian Key now on the mound with a lead as the Anglers lead 2-1 here in the bottom of the 3rd, and some mist starting to come out around Gov Fuller Field. I haven't had really any precipitation since around 2 o'clock here, but some just light mist coming down, nothing that'll impede this game. As the first pitch to Jace Borfin is outside for a ball. Borfin, Armstrong, and Smith set to come up this half inning for the home side. And the count even now at 1-1 here on Borfin. Borfin grounded out to Danny Soretti in his first at-bat of the ball game. But the best hitter on this Commodores team, hitting .322 coming into tonight. Last night went 3 for 3 with a double and a walk in the win over the Kettleers, and comes in riding a 4-game hitting streak. Trying to extend that here tonight, but he's behind in the count at 1-2. Pitch from Keene, and it's popped up on the left side of the infield. Going back into the shallow outfield grass is Danny Soretti, and he drops the ball. So Jace Borfin will reach on an error there by Soretti, the first of the ball game for the Anglers, and the Commodores have the leadoff man on.
Soretti's third error of the season, and we said this mist might not play a factor in terms of the game being suspended, but at least on a pop-up the first time we see it with the rain coming down, it was a little trouble for Soretti there, and I don't know if he lost it just in the gloomy sky or just lost his footing, almost slipping kind of because it's wet out there. Then his glove changed directions.
Well, regardless, now Borfin moving up to second with Chris Armstrong getting hit by the pitch. So second hit batter tonight for the Commodores. And they're starting to find some business here with two guys aboard, nobody out in the inning. And Taylor Smith, who drove home the only run for the Commodores back in the first, stepping up to the plate now. That miss continuing to come down here, making it a little bit foggy beyond the gov. There's the first pitch to Smith on the outside corner for a called strike. Well, for Sebastian Keane to have a lead now, it's got to feel good for him. In 4 of the 5 outings that he's pitched this summer, the Anglers have ended up losing those ball games. His only decision came against Falmouth back on June 29th, where he gave up 3 runs in the start. So he's 0-1 on the year, but all 3 times since then that he's pitched have been losses. A 6-3 loss to YD on July 6th, an 8-2 loss to Harwich on July 12th, and then an 8-1 loss to Wareham on July 19th. So not getting much run support from his team in those games. But he's ahead here and trying to keep the Commodores from adding on as Taylor Smith sits even at the count at 1-1. Pitch home, and it's fouled into the backstop. And now Smith behind at 1-2. Some umbrellas open around for the fans here at Gov Fuller Field, but most of them still sticking around for this very, very light rain that we have here. Raincoats on for some of them. Still doing the best they can to take in Chatham's second game here. And Taylor Smith strikes out on a pitch that was off the plate, but that's a big first out for Sebastian Keane.
Seen Smith chase just a bit, breaking balls in the outside corner, goes after them, and with 2 strikes, he gets a bit antsy to attack, so he's just got to shorten up and then try to not chase out of the zone on that outside corner, because we've been seeing him do that over the past couple of games. But when he's successful, he's hitting pitches early in counts on the inside part of the plate, and that's where we saw him drive in the first run tonight.
Anthony Hall watches ball 1 after a hard hit ball the opposite way in his first at-bat, lining out to Jake DeLeo in left field. That's what Anthony Hall does. A lot of line drives that we see off of his bat. Love to come up with one here as the 1-0 delivery is lined into center field. Going back is Caden Trenkel, and it's going to be over his head. 1 run will score in Jace Borfin, and right behind him coming home is Chris Armstrong. The throw coming to the plate, it's way high, and they're going to end up holding Armstrong at third as Anthony Hall has his 4th double of the season, and he brings home his 8th RBI of the year, and the Commodores have tied it up at 2.
Now batting the second baseman, number 6, Michael.
Anthony Hall is a guy that hits the ball on the barrel of his bat every single time he swings. You can see him in the on-deck circle. He swings so hard that the barrel of his bat hits his back and makes a sound almost every time. He practices the way he'll swing at a fastball or any pitch down on the plate, and he got one to hit and rips it over the center fielder Trenkel's head the opposite way, too. It was more towards the left field side in the left center field gap, and it brings home a run And again, moving guys on when there's guys on base, he's been doing that so much better over the last couple of days.
So a really good spot now for Michael Curiali with 2 guys in scoring position and only 1 out in the inning. Curiali ahead at 1-0 in the count.
And Anthony Hall now a 4-game hitting streak with 6 hits and 3 doubles over that span. Has been just much better at the plate offensively, not chasing, attacking early in counts, and has found that success.
I mentioned an RBI last night, now an RBI tonight for the Oregon Duck. And that's the first time this summer that Anthony Hall has picked up RBIs in back-to-back nights. So we said this earlier, but Falmouth with a lot of consistency on this team in terms of who's been here this summer and really starting to click at the right time of the year. Winners of 3 straight coming into tonight, able to jump out to an early lead and then tie things up playing from behind. As the count now 2-2 here on Curiali. But that could really be a big advantage for the Commodores down the stretch. Last night, we talked about it in the game against Cotuit. The Kettleers have just about an entire roster, different roster than they did from opening day. Whereas Falmouth, very similar, both position player-wise and pitching-wise. As that's strike 3, Curiali goes down looking.
Yeah, this could really help the Commodores towards the end of the season. That Cotuit entirely different, and a lot of their guys got drafted, and now they're having to find new guys to make that late run at the playoffs. And Wareham too, they got a lot of guys back from Team USA. That could help, but they haven't meshed together really all season long. So Falmouth, who has lost a couple of guys and brought some in, it's really been, aside from Casey Harford, and that's been it. Everybody else has been here for a long time now.
This one popped up on the right side, and giving a run at it is Lyle Miller Green, the first baseman, but it ends up finding its way into the seats for strike 1. So just including tonight, 10 games left for the Commodores in the regular season. 6 of those 10 games here at home, where Falmouth has not been as good this summer, but they've had a couple of recent better games here. Falmouth just 3-8-1 here at the Gov on the year. Count goes to 1-1 here on Jonathan French. French went down swinging in his first at-bat of the night in the 2nd inning. Part of a 4 strikeout night so far for Sebastian Keene. 1-1 now from the right-hander. And French swings through it for strike 2. Falmouth with a run in the 1st and a run in the 3rd to bring themselves to this 2-2 score. Chatham with 2 runs in the top half of this inning. 1-2 pitch, and French swings through it as Sebastian Keene ends the inning, stranding a couple of Commodores on 2nd and 3rd. But Anthony Hall, with his 8th RBI of the season on a hard hit double into center field, brings home Jace Borfin and knots this game up at 2 apiece as we move to the 4th here in Falmouth. 2-2 our score between Falmouth and Chatham as we move to the middle third of this ball game. And coming up to the plate for the Anglers this half inning is 5, 6, and 7. Kenny Lavari will lead things off for the visiting side. And the first pitch of ball for Mason Pelio. So far, a pretty evenly matched ball game between these two teams. 2 runs apiece for both teams, 4 hits apiece, but just 1 error recorded by Chatham in that last inning as this one lined into center field. Luke Boyers takes a few steps back, and he gets to it for the first out of the inning.
Credit to whoever positions the outfielders for Falmouth, whether it's themselves or if one of the coaches in the dugout is telling them where to position themselves. But it seems like wherever they are, there's always a ball hit right at them, especially guys like Jace Borfin in right field and Boyers in center. They really don't have to run too much, but they can cover a lot of ground, but they really don't have to because they position themselves in the proper spot.
That brings up Garrett Martin now for Chatham. And he puts this one on the ground to the left side, and then it nicks the glove of Casey Harford as it finds its way to Anthony Hall in left field. Harford frustrated with himself that he couldn't get to it, but that'll be the 5th base hit of the ball game for Chatham.
The left fielder, number 2, Jake DeLeo.
That's the 3rd hit that's been hit as a ground ball through a hole in the infield off of Pelio tonight. So he's doing the right things, getting ground balls. Hasn't been really hit too hard yet, aside from the double from Soretti and the home run from Hogan. The other 3 hits, just ground balls that find their way through.
Brings up Jake DeLeo, who popped out to Boyers in his first at-bat of the night. And so Chatham now has gotten a guy aboard every inning so far. That's something Falmouth has done as well. 0-1, and down in the dirt, really good stop by Jonathan French to keep that in front of him and prevent any advancement of Garrett Martin. That base hit for Garrett Martin into left, his first of the night, and it extends his hitting streak now out to 5 games. He's playing in just his 7th game tonight for Chatham, so in his first 7 games so far, he's hit safely in 6 of the 7. So he's had a good presence in the lineup for the Anglers. Jake DeLeo now behind in the count at 1-2. Now 2-2. So Pelio on the mound for the Commodores has allowed at least 1 run in every outing this summer that he's been on the mound, except for 1 in that 1-0 win that Falmouth had against Orleans back on July 12th. Went 2 innings in that ball game out of the bullpen and ended up picking up the win. His only win of the year. He's 1-3 is the Boston College pitcher. He's allowed at least 2 every outing, other than that one against Orleans, but he's allowed no more than 4 at any point this summer. Guy who just finished up his junior year up in Chestnut Hill. Finds himself in another full count here against Jake DeLeo. Comes the payoff pitch, and it's grounded up the left side to Cody Colden. Nice backhand throw to second, and they'll get the out there as Michael Curiali able to grab it for the lead out. So that's the 2nd out of the inning, and Jake DeLeo reaches on the fielder's choice.
Now batting the first baseman, number 13, Lyle Miller-Green.
Another ground ball. This time hit at a defender and a good play. But Pelio's really been living low in the zone and getting a ton of ground balls tonight.
DeLeo leads off of first, and that brings up the 8-hitter Lyle Miller-Green for the 2nd time tonight. Miller-Green went down swinging to end the second inning. And a hard throw over to first. DeLeo back in with that head-first slide. DeLeo with 6 stolen bags on the summer for Chatham. That leads the team by an easy margin. He has 6 of the 24 stolen bases that the Anglers have this summer, so he's responsible for a quarter of them. There's the first pitch to Lyle Miller Green outside. And time's going to be called now for the home plate umpire, E. Tyler Bullock, to go talk with Pelio, and it looks like the mound getting a little damp, having some issues here for Pelio.
Pelio tripped on or lost his footing on his landing spot on the last pitch, so almost went down hard, but was able to hold himself up just enough to gracefully go down, and then just cleans his spikes out. And E. Tyler Bullock was checking to see if the landing spot in front was almost mud-like, but I think it's okay for now. We'll see if any different dirt comes out onto the mound to fix it up throughout the game as the rain continues to fall. Maybe be a little bit harder.
Just the miss that we have at the current moment. As the 1-0 from Pelio is in for a called strike. Looking at the radar, there isn't really anything over this Falmouth area. Just a very light set of clouds that has just a tiny bit of rain in it, but there's nothing really behind it. So I'd assume in the next few minutes, this mist will likely end up and move on here out to the coast. We'll see, though, how this all continues. Counts it's at 1-1 here on Lyle Miller Green, and he swings through strike 2. Falmouth already with 4 cancellations on the season. Chatham with just 1 up to this point, and of course none of the games being made up this summer, so get situations like this where Falmouth is playing in its 27th game and Chatham's playing in its 30th game of the year. Is running on the pitch DeLeo. Nice scoop by Jonathan French, but the throw to Curiali low. And so DeLeo has himself his 7th stolen bag of the season.
Got a good jump. Throw just a bit low. Got away from Curiali, but even if he picked that, probably wouldn't have had a chance to tag him out. So DeLeo on second now, and he just got a really good jump here with 2 outs. Takes the force away in the infield as well.
That pitch to Lyle Miller Green was low, so count now 2-2, and again Pelio going to clean off his spikes on the mound. And time going to be called now. We haven't had, going back to those cancellations, haven't had any cancellations for Falmouth in the back half of the summer so far, as the pitch gets just a small bit away from Jonathan French, but it's enough for the speedy DeLeo to move up to third on a wild pitch from Mason Pelio. Last cancellation for Falmouth came back on 2 weeks ago from yesterday, so that would have been, I'm struggling again to do quick math here, but last cancellation for Falmouth was back on July 10th. Is this one drilled into center field, and it's over the head of Luke Boyers in center as Chatham takes the lead right back from the Commodores as Lyle Miller Green has his 2nd double of the season and his 19th RBI, which leads the Anglers, and it's now 3-2 Chatham.
Well, if you don't allow the stolen base, that run doesn't score, and it's even easier when you steal second and then get to third on a wild pitch to then score on anything hit to the outfield. And with 2 outs, you're running on the pitch, so he probably he maybe would have scored from first because he would have to run on contact. So again, Pelio's been doing a good job of getting ground balls. That's really the third hard hit ball that Chatham's had, and unfortunately, two of the hard hit balls tonight have induced runs.
So Miller Green now stands at second in a 3-2 ball game for the Anglers, and the 9-hitter Matt Garcia takes ball one here from Pelio. No action yet in the bullpen for Falmouth. There was an arm up for Chatham earlier this half inning, no longer warming up, but is just standing around. As warming up for them out in their bullpen is Bryce Osmond, who was initially listed as tonight's starter for Chatham before Sebastian Keene moved up and got the start in place of him. Here's the 1-1 from Pelio, and it's hit on the ground over to Casey Harford at short. The throw over to first is in time for the third out of this inning, but Lyle Miller Green drives home the third run of the ball game for the Anglers, and they take the lead right back from Falmouth as we go to the bottom of the fourth. It's 3-2 Anglers here from Gov Fuller Field. Bryce Osmond takes the mound for Chatham as we move to the fourth. Comes on in place of Sebastian Keene, who went 3 innings in the start, gave up 4 hits, and allowed 2 runs to come across, but only the first run of the ball game earned against him. Also had 5 strikeouts in his outing tonight, and now he'll leave it off to the bullpen as Bryce Osmond, who was initially listed as tonight's starter, comes on here to take on 9-1-2 for the Commodores. And Luke Boyers takes ball 1 from Osmond. When we saw Osmond come onto the mound, the first thing he did as soon as he stepped onto it was check the dirt out and try and clear things up a bit on that mound as the second pitch of this at-bat lined right to Lyle Miller Green for the grab out.
Now batting the third baseman.
So Osmond checking on that mound. The rain continuing to come down here at Gov Fuller Field. If you look in the direction of the lights, it can kind of look like you can kind of see the wave patterns that it's coming in with the wind. And it's coming down a little bit harder than it was earlier. Still nothing that I'd say merits any concern yet, but it's just continuing to come down in slow quantities here at the Gov. You can kind of see there looking at it, the different wave patterns coming in, and that's just carrying with the wind as Cody Colden drills one up the middle. And how about this start for Cody Colden tonight? Now a 3-hit ball game, the first time this summer that the Washington State Cougar has done that, as he has 3 singles in the ball game.
Well, Borfin had 3 hits last night. Colden tonight, 3 for 3 with 3 singles. Again, starting to hit the ball. Well, he's been hitting the ball hard off the barrel every night, but he's starting to find those holes and be more successful at the plate. And once you get a couple to go your way, you start to be more confident and you see the ball better. And it seems like Colden's been just seeing the baseball a lot better in the box.
Here's Casey Harford now for the Commodores as he swings through strike 1. On the season, Bryce Osmond, this is 5th outing, a 1-2 record, and this is his first outing out of the bullpen. But he's pitched 14 total innings on the year, has given up runs in at least every outing so far, leading up to tonight. Harford behind in the count now at 0-2. Osmond out of Oklahoma State, and when Chatham arrived here earlier today, got to see him say hi to his Cowboy teammate in Mitchell Stone, who pitches for the Commodores, as Harford pops this one back and out of play. Always so cool, though, to see these collegiate teammates catch back up, especially when it's an East versus West game like this. Guys who don't see one another too much during the summer because there's minimal meetings against these teams, but these two just sharing a moment before the game to catch up and just get back in tune with one another.
I always like watching in the majors when a guy gets traded or leaves for another team and then has to play his former team. You'll see during warm-ups just guys talking when they run out. You know, they're running sprints. They'll talk in center field when they meet up with each other. Just things like that that are so cool. It just reminds me a little bit of this, although they still are teammates in the spring.
And a lot of those guys, despite the fact that, you know, they may be competing against one another on the field, when they get off the field, they share so many moments and are often some of the best of friends. And, of course, with here Osmond and Mitchell Stone, that's the case, being teammates at Oklahoma State, but at the professional level, too, so many of these guys good friends with one another and just enjoy catching up when they're not playing against one another. Bryce Osmond cleaning his cleats again before stepping back onto the mound, kicking some of the dirt off at the edge of the grass. As he's ahead in the count, 0-2 here on Casey Harford. And the pitch from the right-hander, and it's blown past the bat of Casey Harford for Osmond's first strikeout of the night.
Now batting the right fielder, number 16, Chase Borfin.
So Cody Colden's still on first for the Commodores, as Chase Borfin will step to the plate, still looking to extend that hitting streak. He reached on an E6 back in the third and came around to score for the Commodores. And takes strike 1 on the inside part of the plate. Colden started to run on the pitch before holding up his run as this one fouled over to the hill beyond the left field foul line, and Borfin now at 0-2. Some kids out there giving a chase towards that ball. As a bunny's making its way towards the field again.
This is the lucky bunny.
Time going to be called here as the third baseman, Kenny Lavari, is going to go run after it. Now it finds its way into the field, comes back into foul territory, trying to keep it away from the dirt here. Lavari gives a good sprint. It makes a nice curve around him. And now he's on the field, and we're going to see the entire infield for Chatham try and corner it from getting any further onto the field. This is 2 nights in a row here at the Gov that we've had a bunny stop play to try and have its moment here on camera. And now he's over towards the bullpen, and they're going to hope that he just stays put over there.
I think this is the lucky bunny. If the Commodores come out to win this game, that'd be 2 this week where the bunny has gone onto the field and the Commodores have won. So I think we can say it's somewhat lucky.
Here's the 0-2 pitch from Osmond, and a nice line drive into right center field, and that's going to drop down as rounding second, going to third. It's Cody Colton, and he's going to be waved around to come home. Jace Borfin goes into third with a stand-up triple. Borfin's second triple of the season, and what a way to continue this hit streak for the Arkansas Razorback, as it's now 3-3 in what's been a thriller of a game up to this point.
Now batting the first baseman, number 23, Chris.
How about that
Armstrong.
lucky bunny bringing home another run for the Commodores and bringing Jace Borfin into third?
Borfin ripped that ball, and the center fielder Trenkle took not the best route to it. He tried to cut it off, but then it went past him and all the way to the wall, and that's how Borfin gets a triple out of it. If he ran behind it and kind of circled around, it probably would have kept him to a double. Colton probably would have scored either way, but Borfin gets the extra bag because a little bit of a tough route to the baseball from Trenkle. But again, Borfin has just been hitting so consistently well all season in big spots, whether it's a big spot or not, really, but specifically in big spots has come through for the team. And Colton, with that speed, scores all the way from first to tie this game.
Armstrong drills this one to the same spot, and it's going to fall and one hop the fence as Borfin comes home to score. Armstrong goes into second with a stand-up double as he has himself his first base hit of the ballgame, his third time reaching tonight. And that time, Caden Trenkle took a better route to the ball, but the Commodores continue to score as they jump ahead now 4-3.
Taylor Smith.
Armstrong has now hit safely in 5 of his last 6 games, and he's got 6 hits in that span. Him and Borfin have just been incredible, and I think those two guys in the middle of the order are going to keep this team in the race for the playoffs, and if they can stay hot, we'll probably get this team to that next spot. But they have just been playing such good baseball over the last couple of days, and we saw this entire team get cold over that 5-game losing streak, but over the past couple of games now, they've won 3 in a row, and they're currently with the lead tonight. It's been everybody contributing, but especially Borfin and Armstrong, and if everybody gets hot at the right time, there's probably going to be some smiles towards this end of the regular season.
This game just going back and forth right now, and like you said, Falmouth playing really well over these last few games, and again here tonight as Taylor Smith now behind in the count at 0-2.
And this is back-to-back extra base hits, back-to-back RBI extra base hits with 2 outs. Get guys on, hit them over. It's a simple game if you pitch well.
Taylor Smith already with 1 RBI in tonight's ball game. 3 of the 4 runs that the Commodores have scored tonight have come off of extra base hits. Actually, all 4 have come off of extra base hits. 3 doubles, 1 from Taylor Smith, 1 from Anthony Hall, and 1 from Chris Armstrong, and then the triple from Jace Borfin to help the Commodores get up to this 4-3 advantage. Saw Falmouth jump ahead with the 1-0 lead, then Chatham came back to make it 2-1. Falmouth tied it up at 2-2. Chatham went ahead 3-2. And now 4-3 Commodores. Here's the 1-2 pitch, and it's outside. Count goes even to 2-2 here on Taylor Smith. There's only been one game this summer where we've seen the offense for the Commodores be consistent really throughout all 9 innings. And that was last Monday in what ended up being a loss to Bourne. It was a walk-off loss that the Braves picked up the win with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th as Taylor Smith goes down swinging, and that'll end this inning. So 2 more runs for the Commodores here in the 4th, push them ahead of the Anglers. It's 4-3 Falmouth as we move to the 5th here from Gov Fuller Field. Rain's starting to let up here at Gov Fuller Field. And during that half inning, some care to the mound being given as they spread out the dirt a little bit, just trying to make the area around where the pitcher lands a little bit smoother as Jackson Phipps comes into the ballgame for the Commodores and comes on in relief of Mason Pelio, who went 4 innings tonight and gave up 6 hits, allowed 3 runs and 3 strikeouts. But Phipps comes on now with his team ahead after 2 runs in the bottom of the 4th, on for the 8th time this season out of the bullpen for the Commodores. And the first pitch to Danny Soretti. He drills into right center field, and he's going to round first and go to second as the throw comes in from Jace Borfin. But Danny Soretti leads off the inning with his second double of the ball game, and he's on to start off the 5th. And so with Soretti on, we'll welcome our beat writer Tommy Muma into the broadcast for the first time tonight. Tommy on for Tommy's Thoughts, our new addition here in the 5th inning. And Tommy, what are you thinking tonight?
Well, great game so far, Dave. Thanks for having me on again. But, yeah, you said it before, going back and forth all night. Certainly a fun one. And, yeah, you said the weather looks like it's clearing up, so hopefully we can get all 9 in.
Up now, Matt Hogan, who swings through strike 1. It's been very peculiar some days here. I mean, I know we're by the beach, so weather can change in a heartbeat, but I mean, you go from, we've had days where thunderstorms were predicted in the evening, and that day will roll around, or that time will roll around, and there's not a drop of rain in the sky.
You're right. I mean, it's weird how it goes here. I mean, we had so many rainouts in the first half, right? I think we had 4, and now it's been pretty good, and the forecast looks good, so hopefully we're good the rest of the way in terms of weather.
Knock on wood for sure, and hope that that's the case. Jackson Phipps continuing to just clean his spikes up, trying to get a good grip on the mound. Here with a 1-1 count on Matt Hogan. And this one hit the opposite way, but it's going to end up foul as it lands beyond the light pole down the left field line for strike 2. What more do you have on your mind, Tommy?
Well, one thing I do have on my mind, not Commodores related, but
Oh, good. It could be anything.
anything. Tough weekend for the New York Yankees, and I know that a lot of our viewers are probably happy. Good weekend for the Boston Red Sox. Big series this past weekend. Red Sox took 3 out of 4. So as a Yankees fan, I know that was tough for us.
Hogan pops this one up on the left side, and Cody Colden there in foul territory to make the grab for out number 1. As that'll now bring up Caden Trenkle. But, yeah, it was a tough weekend for the Yankees. They were in a spot to win 3 of the 4 games this weekend. Had it down to 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th before the Red Sox came back to tie it and then eventually win it in the 10th. Tonight, we're ahead by 4 going into the 8th, and Domingo Germán had a no-hitter going. And the Red Sox score 5 runs in the 8th to jump ahead and end up taking down the Yankees, who still don't really know whether or not they're going to be buyers or sellers coming up to the trade deadline. But, I mean, for their sake, they start to get back some of the players who are on the COVID list.
They certainly do. Gio Urshela came back today, which obviously that's a big boost. We know what he can do offensively and defensively. And, you know, Aaron Judge, he'll be back at some point this week, and we all know what type of player he is as well. But, yeah, tough weekend. I mean, I know, like I said, our viewers, I'm sure, are very happy. A lot of people from the New England area. A really well-played series, though. A lot of exciting games. Like you said, Thursday, a walk-off, and then today they won in the 8th inning. So, great baseball this weekend in Boston.
Running on the pitch is Soretti, but it's fouled off. Soretti was looking for his 4th stolen bag of the season on that pitch, but he'll have to go back into second as the count sits at 0-2 here on Caden Trenkle, who's 0 for 2 in the ball game. Well, speaking of the trade deadline, during our broadcast, already one trade that came in, Adam Frazier of the Pirates moving on to the Padres as he was traded out there. Pirates in a typical spot where they are every year, selling players off to try and get better at the deadline, but up to this point, really haven't been able to make anything of the pieces that they've gotten.
For sure, and I think that's a really big move for the Padres because I know that I honestly picked the Padres to win that division, and now you look at the Giants. I know we were talking about the other day off air what a surprise the NL West has been, so that's a big move for them to maybe get them a little closer to first place there.
Trenkle swings through strike 3, and Jackson Phipps has his 14th strikeout of the season for the second out of this inning. I don't know, bring up Max Romero Jr.
Now batting the catcher, number 45, Max Romero.
Yeah, the
Jr.
NL West, I'll say this. Obviously, the winner of the NL West will be in the postseason, but I think the wild card game in the NL is going to be between second and third in the NL West. And with how the Giants, the Dodgers, and the Padres have all been playing this season, I would not want to be in that wild card game.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. I think it'll definitely be two teams out of the West as the ball goes to the backstop. But, no, I agree with you there for sure. But a big surprise for me has been that NL East, right? Initially, I would think that you'd have a couple wild card teams coming out of the East with the Braves, the Mets, obviously, and the Phillies they've been pretty competitive this year, but the injury to Ronald Acuna Jr., that was disappointing, obviously, for Atlanta to lose him. But that's why you love baseball, right? A lot of surprises this year.
Yeah, there definitely have been. Atlanta now with Jock Peterson on its team after Ronald Acuna went down with a season-ending ACL tear. Just so heartbreaking to see for him and for that fan base, and really for the game too. Such an electric player and one of those guys that you want to see excel night in, night out because he's just so much fun to watch. This one hit back up the middle, and what do you know? Chatham ties things up at 4 here in the top of the 5th as Max Romero Jr. has his second base hit of the ballgame, his 13th RBI here with Chatham. And it's 4-4 in the top of the 5th.
Now batting the third baseman.
What a game we have here tonight so far.
Lamari.
Oh, it's a great game tonight. I mean, these are fun, right, when you go back and forth. But, yeah, Jackson Phipps pitching pretty well, but gave up the base hit right there, try to sell back in.
So we talk about the playoff push and all that, Major League Baseball. What do you think of the playoff push this summer here in the Cape Cod League?
Oh, it's been great. I mean, you know, in terms of the Commodores, obviously we follow them every day. And, you know, went through a little bit of a tough stretch, you know, lost 5 in a row. And here they've won 3 in a row, chance to win a 4th today. So this is obviously a really big game. And we'll be, the Commodores will be playing them tomorrow night in Chatham. So big stretch of games coming up. And it's hard to believe. I know we've been talking about this off air. 9 games to go after tonight, so they're going to have to play well in this final stretch.
Yeah, 9 games left, and most of those coming against the Western Division as Kenny Lavari swings through strike 1. After tonight, just the meeting tomorrow night at Chatham and then at home against Harwich on Wednesday. The only remaining games against Eastern Division teams here in this 2021 season. And then, of course, if the Commodores were to make it to the CCBL final, as this one's fouled over the third base dugout, and now it's 0-2 here on Kenny Lavari.
And in terms of the schedule, I think something to watch out for is I think that next Sunday the Commodores are in Catuit, and then they go to Wareham the following day, you know, which are 2 teams that Falmouth is competing against for that second spot out of the West.
Lavari drills this one into left field, but Anthony Hall comes on to make the grab for the 3rd out of this inning. Chatham able to tie things up at 4 off of an RBI single from Max Romero Jr. And we go to the bottom of the 5th. Still 4-4 here from Gov Fuller Field, and we'll keep Tommy on for one more half inning when we come back to the Gov.
Continuing with our corporate sponsors, we also want to recognize and thank Franklin Sports, Cape Destinations, Sullivan Tire, Cape Cod Times, Kinlan Grover Real Estate, Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce, Highline Cruises, Sports Picks, On Deck Sports, Barnstable Bat, Hyannis Area Chamber of Commerce, HP Hood, Sunderland Printing, Axis Bats, Quest Diagnostics, Cape Space, and of course, thank you to Major League Baseball for over 50 years of support.
It was good. I got an idea of something to talk about. I know it's not your thought, but
Okay. Hey, I'm good with it.
feel free to bring us back.
Coming back in 2 weeks, you would like
Right there. So nice to see him get going.
That brings up Michael Curiali. Now still with nobody out here this half inning, but going back to that thought, last night after the game against Katuitt, we got done pretty early,
Yep.
around 8 o'clock, because we only played 6 innings, no lights at Lowell Park. And we went out for dinner afterwards, and we got some wings, but this is always a big topic. Boneless wings, because we got boneless. Are they
Yeah.
chicken nuggets, or are they not?
Well, it
Or-
depends. I think that last night those were chicken tenders.
Okay.
So I think that I don't know.
So
It's a good question. I got to think about it, but
because it's always advertised as being a boneless wing.
yeah.
But the truth is, it really is a chicken nugget, or in this case, a chicken tender.
It's a good point. I'd have to say that's more of a tender than a wing, right?
I think so.
That's pretty tough. I've never
It
really
is.
thought about that.
You've never thought of that.
No, it's a good question.
Now, here's one for you. I think
Yeah.
I'm the only one in our group who prefers ranch over blue cheese.
Yeah.
I just can't do blue cheese.
See, I wasn't always a big blue cheese guy, but I tried a few years ago and I love it. But I've never gotten ranch. I've never been a big fan of ranch.
Michael Curiali goes down looking for the first out of this inning. That'll bring up Jonathan French, who's 0 for 2 in tonight's ball game and trying to bring around Anthony Hall, or at least move him up on the base paths. Now, whenever you get wings, you often get, carrots and celery with it. What do you
Yeah.
prefer?
Probably celery, I would say. I'm good with either, though. Last night we got carrots. Those were pretty good, but I'd have to say celery.
Yeah. I think, I don't know if you knew this. Celery, you actually burn calories by eating it.
Oh, no way.
Did you know that?
No, then I should get it. Isn't there water in it? A lot of water in celery?
So what I've read and kind of been told too is that because I don't exactly know the chemical makeup of celery, but with the way your body has to digest it, it actually spends so much time digesting it that it burns calories rather than adding any.
See, that's perfect. I gotta get it every time now.
Pitch on the outside part of the plate for a called strike here on Jonathan French. Can eat a meal of just celery for every day from here on out?
See, I don't know because celery's good, but I don't know if I could do it for every meal every day. But we'll have to see.
2-1. French swings through it now. 2-2 here on the Clemson catcher. Wings, though, I think probably we could say your favorite food.
100%. Definitely. Well, I do like a good steak, though. But in terms of like regular food, it's gotta be chicken wing.
Yeah. I love wings. The only issue I ever have, I don't get full off them. You gotta eat so many of them to get full.
See, that's what I do. Like on a Friday night in school, I'll just eat like a ton and then I'm all set.
Well, glad to make you happy last night, albeit some boneless wings, but still. It cured the buffalo craving that you had.
Oh, yeah, those are great. I love going 99, so.
Definitely a great spot to chill after a ball game, especially when you get done around 8 o'clock and looking for a place to get some food. Here's the 3-2 pitch to Jonathan French, and it's upstairs, and French is on base for the first time this ball game as the Commodores have a runner on first and second here with one gone in the bottom of the fifth. That brings up the 9-hitter Luke Boyers, who was hit by a pitch in his first step out of the ball game before lining out to Lyle Miller Green to start off the fourth inning. What more's on your mind?
Let's see. I mean, a good opportunity right now for Falmouth, obviously. Tie ball game, a couple of runners on. Luke Boyers had a productive night, like you said, hit by pitch, and then hit the ball really hard right at the first baseman.
And he watches strike one, a ball that looked like he may have wanted to poke his bat at, but ends up keeping it back. Falmouth scored a run in the first, a run in the third, 2 in the fourth, and have 2 aboard here with just 1 gone in the bottom of the fifth. As the 0-1 pitch to Boyers is grounded to the second baseman, Matt Garcia. He's going to tag French and throw over to first for the second out. They're going to actually say that French was not tagged. So French safe at second. Anthony Hall moves up to third. And that'll keep us here in the inning as there's now 2 gone.
Now batting the third baseman, number 3.
Now we have Cody Colden coming up. Great night for him. 3 for 3 up to this point with 3 singles. So we'll see if he can keep it going. A couple of runners in scoring position.
Time going to be called now for head coach Tom Holliday to go talk out with Joe Hilton, who was the one who made the call that French was safe. What did you see on that play?
Personally, I thought that French did get past the tag. I think that he missed him there, and he's safe.
Well, now the umpires are going to convene. A good talk between Tom Holliday and Joe Hilton. Not sure exactly what they said, but regardless, he at least got the umpires to come together and discuss this play. Haven't seen an umpire crew overturn a call this summer in the games that Falmouth has had up to this point. And a good talk here between this 3-man officiating crew. Home plate umpire E. Tyler Bullock, who stands on the left of the screen. With our backs to us is Mark Furtado, and then looking in the direction of the camera is Joe Hilton. And they're going to come away and say that Jonathan French is safe at second. So just the 1 out for the Commodores on that ball that was put in play by Luke Boyers.
Yeah, I'd have to say that's the right call there. At least, it's tough from our vantage point up here, but I thought he was safe.
So back to the top of the lineup for the hottest hitter in tonight's ball game, Cody Colden, who's 3 for 3 with 3 singles here tonight against Chatham. And Falmouth has runners on second and third with 2 gone. First pitch to Colden outside for ball 1. Any more features coming out soon?
Yes, Will Carfin came out with one today on Mikey Tepper, reliever on Mississippi State, which that was a great piece. Go and check that out for sure. And Doug Hodo, I think, is going to come out tomorrow. I'm writing that one. He has another great story, as do a lot of these guys on this Commodores team. So Yeah, we got a bunch coming this next week as we finish the season out here. And, yeah, definitely some stuff to stay tuned for.
Colden swings through strike 2 and now is behind in the count. Throw down to second, which caught Osmond off guard, as well as the second baseman Garcia, but no tag applied. Always enjoyable to read those features and get to know the guys a little more in depth than what we're able to bring here on the broadcast. Tommy frequently out there during batting practice, interviewing the guys, post-game, talking with them, and just getting to know everyone that much better. How many more features do you have, or are you set to do after these couple?
I think it's going to be 6 in total, probably 3 from me and 3 from Will. But we might get a few extras in there, but at least 6 towards the end here.
2-2 to Colden, and just able to stay alive with a foul ball into the backstop. Sky starting to clear here at the Gov. Turning into a little bit more of a promising sign as the rain has stopped here. Haven't seen Osmond have any issues on the mound this half inning. 2-2 pitch to Colden on the outside part of the plate. Really close location, but count goes full now on the Washington State Cougar.
Good at bat here by Cody Colden. We've been seeing this all night from him, so we got a full count right here. A couple of runners on. Big spot for the Commodores.
Only 1 inning so far tonight. Falmouth hasn't brought across any runs. The 3-2 pitch, and Colden goes down swinging as Falmouth leaves runners on second and third to end the inning. A tough spot there for Falmouth, but still a tie ball game. 4-4 as we move to the 6th here from the Gov. And Tommy, as always, a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me. Another great one.
Another great one. Be sure to keep in tune with some of Tommy's articles as they can, along with Will's, as they continue to roll out. But we'll step aside, be back in just a moment here from Falmouth.
Machinery, generators.
Garrett Martin leads off the 6th inning for Chatham as 6, 7, and 8 set to come up for the visiting side. Matt back on the broadcast with us as the first pitch to Garrett Martin pops high into the now rainless sky here at Gov Fuller Field. A couple steps to the right for Luke Boyers, and that's out number 1. Matt, did you watch the game off air from the same spot you did last time behind the Commodores dugout?
Yeah, right up on the dugout. It's an angle that you get the side view of the pitcher, and you can see the entire field as well. So it's a lot different of an angle than what we have just right behind home plate. You can really see the speed and the break from there better.
First pitch to Jake DeLeo is outside for ball 1. Well, that's one of the things that makes calling games at Wareham so cool for the visitors, is because they're on the side, literally above the third base dugout that the Commodores are in. And we've said it before on these broadcasts. It's like a WWE cage that you're in. Just a small little rectangle that they have above there. But like you said, can watch from the side, see the breaks of the ball as the count goes to 3-0 here on DeLeo. .30 pitch from Phipps is inside, and a 4-pitch walk given up to Jake DeLeo, who reaches for the second time tonight. Haven't seen too many walks in tonight's ball game. Mason Pelio allowed just one, and that's the first from Phipps.
13, Lyle Miller Green.
Say this, if anyone listening or watching tonight's broadcast ever happens to be at one of the remaining road games that you see Matt and I, feel free to stop by, say hi. Love when Commodores fans or really anybody comes by and says hi during those games. Just helps to catch up with the fans a little bit. We get so locked in with the game that getting to see the fan side of it always makes things, or brings everything around and just makes it all that much better. Here's Lyle Miller Green, who watches strike one from Phipps. Really good ball game tonight between Falmouth and Chatham. A 4-4 game here in the top of the 6th. These two teams had a 7-7 draw back in the season opener on June 20th. One of 3 ties for Chatham this summer and one of 2 for Falmouth, as now Miller Green behind 1 and 2. Two teams still in the league have not picked up a tie this summer. Katuitt 12 and 15, Hyannis 5 and 22. And you've got them with no ties, YD with 6 ties. As this one softly grounded to Curiale, takes a late hop on him, flips it to Harford, the throw over to first, and it gets away from Armstrong. Not sure what happened there and how Armstrong missed that, but nonetheless, they get the lead out in Jake DeLeo, and Lyle Miller Green is safe at first. Excuse me, safe at second. As Adam Stone, last night's starter for the Commodores, getting some action as a catcher, seeing the other side of the ball.
I don't know many 6'6" catchers.
Matt Garcia.
Well, a couple weeks ago, Stone was taking photos during the game as well from the bullpen, so he's a jack of all trades.
Stone's such a great guy and a really good presence on this team. He's got a huge smile that just radiates among all of us. As it looks like also out there, Lucas Gordon, out of Texas, starting to warm up just in front of the mound. Taylor Smith, getting all these names. I can't even talk now. Taylor Smith out there giving him some pointers. Here's the count goes to 0-2 on Matt Garcia, who's 0 for 2 in tonight's ball game. Garcia, one of only 2 anglers to not reach base tonight. A couple of ground outs here for the second baseman. And he fouls one into the backstop to stay alive. Falmouth only has 2 catchers on the team, Jonathan French and Taylor Smith, but who knows? Maybe in these last couple of games, Falmouth can clinch a playoff spot. Maybe we'll see Adam Stone as going down looking is Matt Garcia for the 3rd out of this inning. Jackson Phipps didn't realize that was the 3rd out. He stood on the mound for an extra second, realized his teams were running off, and decided to follow them to the dugout. So we'll move to the bottom of the 6th. After Chatham is held off the board for the 3rd time in an inning tonight in a 4-4 ball game. Little over 2 hours into this ball game, going into the bottom of the 6th with Casey Harford, Jace Borfin, and Chris Armstrong set to come up for the home Falmouth Commodores here in a 4-4 tie against the Chatham Anglers. 8 hits between the two teams, each team with an error. So the scoreboard with 4, 8, and 1 for each of the two teams. As Bryce Osmond still on the mound for Chatham, going into his 3rd inning tonight. And Hartford puts one on the ground the opposite way to Matt Garcia at 2nd. And that's the first out of the inning.
The right fielder, number 6.
That brings up Jace Borfin, who had an RBI triple in his last at-bat in the 4th. His 2nd triple of the summer here with Falmouth. And the first pitch he sees, he rockets in the direction of the Commodores bullpen, and it's going to take a couple hops into the grandstand along the first base line for strike 1. Now 1-1. And now 1-2 here on Borfin. Been talking a little about leading up to the Olympics this summer. Team USA playing out in Tokyo in just a few days. July 30th, the Olympic national team gets going against Israel in Yokohama, Japan. Then the next day they'll take on Korea. And then August 1st is the knockout stage. So just 6 teams in the Olympics this year. The U.S., Israel, Korea, Mexico, the Dominican Republic, and Japan. The 6 teams represented there. Some former MLB players playing there and seeing action with different teams. Most of the teams have at least one notable MLB player or former MLB player. As this one's popped out to right field. Haven't mentioned Matt Hogan much tonight, but he's under it for the 2nd out of this inning.
Haven't mentioned him in the field at least, but has been one of the catalysts offensively for them. That's really the first time he's had to go after a ball defensively. Commodores have been putting everything out into left center.
Here's Chris Armstrong, another guy with a really hot bat. Officially 1 for 1 in tonight's ballgame, but he's been on base all 3 times he stepped to the plate. Was walked in the 1st, was hit in the 3rd, and then had his RBI double back in the 4th, which scored Jace Borfin. The last run to come across for Falmouth. And he's behind now at 0-2. Those games that the U.S. has going to be early on in the morning. 6 a.m. starts against Israel and Korea. The time difference between here and Japan just so far off as Chris Armstrong goes down swinging, and that's the first 1-2-3 inning of the night for either team, and it's Bryce Osmond who works it, and he ends the inning with his 3rd strikeout tonight. We'll move into the 7th, 4-4 between Falmouth and Chatham. After our quickest inning of the night, Chatham right back up to bat here in a 4-4 ball game against the Falmouth Commodores. Danny Soretti will lead off the inning for the visiting side. 2 for 2 tonight with a couple of doubles, and has come around to score both times that he reached via the double. And the first pitch from Jackson Phipps outside for ball 1. Just found out a moment ago that our Tommy Muma, who we had on in the 5th for Tommy's Thoughts, will be one of 2 guys throwing out the first pitch on Tuesday when Hyannis comes to town. It's intern appreciation night. So whether you're coming to the ball game or if you're going to be watching on the broadcast, be sure to have your eyes tuned into the field by about 5:54 or so to see Tommy throw a strike to Anthony DeFabia. I'm jealous. I've never thrown out a first pitch.
Well, Tommy better not pull a 50 Cent or Carly Rae Jepsen move. He'll be all over the YouTube.
And I'll say this, I'm sure you and I won't hold back from roasting him if we have to.
Oh, absolutely not.
Count 2-2 here on Danny Soretti. I'll say, throwing a baseball, just so natural, but when you got all those eyes on you, I feel like the pressure can just get you to crack, especially if it's somewhere and in a position you haven't been before. Jackson Phipps picks up a leadoff strikeout to start this inning. For Phipps, that's his 3rd of the ball game, and there's 1 gone.
Good pitch on the outside corner for Phipps, gets the swing. And when he's dotting on the corners, that's where he's most successful. And we've seen that so far tonight 3 times.
Here's Matt Hogan, who has a 2-run homer in tonight's ball game. Got the scoring started for Chatham back in the 3rd. 2 of the 4 runs that this team has scored tonight. And he puts a first pitch chopper over to Curiali at second. Good stop by the UCLA Bruin, who had to run a long way to get that ball. But there's now 2 gone.
Now batting the center fielder, number 49, Caden Tranquil.
2 quick outs for Jackson Phipps, and that brings up Caden Tranquil, one of only 2 anglers to not reach tonight, along with Matt Garcia. Tranquil a couple of ground outs to Curiali at second, and then struck out swinging his last time up. And he takes ball 1 inside. Tranquil yesterday went 0 for 3 against Bourne, so now 0 for his last 6. And he came into tonight hitting 151 for the Anglers, so it's been a bit of a rough summer for him at the plate, but he's ahead now at 2-0. Lucas Gordon continuing to warm up for Falmouth down in the bullpen. Adam Stone still catching him down there. As there's strike 1 for Jackson Phipps.
Before the summer ends, I have to throw a bullpen to either Adam Stone now or Taylor Smith or Jonathan French. That's been one of my goals the entire summer.
I'm sure they'll say yes in a heartbeat.
Well, they might get crossed up by my fastball drop at 65 miles an hour. I don't know if they want to catch me with that. They're used to the 95, 92.
3-1, fouled into the backstop in our direction. Now 3-2. Well, then maybe they won't have to bring out a catcher's glove for it. You can just wear a regular's glove.
They don't even need gear.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't spike one on them. Oh, we've got a little over a week and a half left in the regular season, so going to have to find some time to do that soon. At minimum, Falmouth will be guaranteed 2 games should they make the postseason. A game here and a game at Bourne. They'd get Bourne already locking up the top spot in the Western Division. Here's the 3-2 from Phipps again, and it's low and outside, and on base for the first time tonight is Caden Tranquil as he gets aboard with 2 outs. That's the second walk tonight allowed by Jackson Phipps, and it'll bring up Max Romero Jr., who had to take off his catcher's gear before stepping to the plate. So just a brief delay before he steps up. And a first pitch strike from Phipps. Going back to talking about the Olympics, how about the U.S. basketball team today falling to France?
Well, I'm speechless with that one. Well, when's the last time they lost? 2004?
It ended a 25-game winning streak in the Olympics for the U.S. Just an unbelievable feat by that team. Fly out from Max Romero Jr. to Anthony Holland left to end the inning. And we've hit the 7th inning stretch here from the Gov. 4-4 between the Commodores and the Anglers.
Taylor Smith.
After a 1-2-3 inning by the Commodores in the bottom of the 6th, they come up here trying to avoid that same fate. Our only 1-2-3 inning of the night, and the quickest inning as well. As Taylor Smith will lead things off for Falmouth, you're in a 4-4 ball game. Been really tightly contested. This is a spot that Chatham is used to being in. 3 of their last 4 games have been decided by 2 runs or less, including last night a 2-1 loss to Bourne at Veterans Field. So Chatham, especially as of late, has been in these tight ball games. Falmouth, not nearly as much. A 2-0 win for the Commodores a couple nights back, but outside of that, it's mostly been either large wins or large losses for this team. They also did have a 4-2 win at Bourne on Wednesday. And just 2 ties this summer for Falmouth, one of which came against this Chatham team. The other tie coming at Spillane Field in Wareham. 2-0 to Taylor Smith is low and away, and make it 3-0 now on the Texas A&M designated hitter. Taylor Smith tonight, 1 for 3. Started the scoring for Falmouth back in the first with an RBI double, and then struck out swinging his next 2 times up. And you watch a strike 1 come in on him. And he swings through strike 2. Take a look at some other scores from around the league. Hey, how about this? YD, another tie. 4-4 the final against Brewster. Now 7 ties on the season for the Red Sox. I don't know when the record started for amount of ties, but they just continue to add on. That 7 ties continues to add on to that record. As Smith pops this one foul. Hyannis and Orleans in a tie in the bottom of the 4th out at Eldridge Park. Harwich playing at Bourne and on top 7-2 in the top of the 7th. That's rare to see Bourne down, especially by 5 runs late in a ball game.
There's some controversy in that game, though. I've been following it on social media. Apparently, there was a grand slam that was ruled a grand slam, but Bourne is saying it's a ground rule double and that it bounced on the warning track. And there's photo evidence that Bourne has put out on social media that shows the ball bouncing on the warning track, but
Holy smokes.
it was called a grand slam, so it counts as 4 runs.
That's unbelievable. I mean, how does a ball land and they say that it's a home run? Yeah, you're right. The tweet, Harwich hits a, quote, grand slam that bounced on the warning track, and you can see it bouncing, and the ball looks to be in front of the fence, not on the back side of the fence, that it's on the front side of the fence. Is time called now for pitching coach Dennis Cook to go talk out with Bryce Osmond. That's some wild controversy, though.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I don't know how you missed that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Got to see the video, though. I don't know how much a photo can prove it to me.
I'll say, though, really impressive camera work that they have to even be able to see a ball like this. We'll keep talking about this when we come back. Bryce Osmond comes out of the ball game after pitching 3 1/3 innings tonight, and we'll have the new pitcher's numbers when we come back here from the Gov. David Falco out of the University of Maryland, the new pitcher for Chatham, here with 1 gone in the top of the 7th. And he'll start things off against Anthony Hall, who's had a phenomenal night. 2 for 3 with 2 doubles and an RBI already tonight. As he watches ball 1 from Falco. Falco in his 7th outing out of the pen this summer for Chatham has pitched 9 total innings so far, 13 strikeouts to just 5 walks, and an ERA of 4 on the mound. And he also pitched here back on the first day of the season as a really nice stop by Kenny Lavari. The throw over to first is in time, and there's now 2 gone here in the 7th.
Now batting the second baseman, number 6, Mike Gold.
Falco hasn't given up a run in this being his 4th outing. So coming into this outing, 3 in a row, and all 4 of his runs that he's given up this year came in one outing at Brewster. He went 2/3 of an inning and got pretty hard hit against. 2 hits and 4 runs were allowed, a couple of walks as well. Other than that, scoreless in every other outing, and a guy that just deals up ground balls and has a lot of pace on a fastball.
Stands up here against Michael Curiali, who's ahead in the count at 1-0. Curiali tonight 0 for 3, the only Commodore to not reach base, as he's even in the count now at 1-1. Osmond, who came out in relief of Falco, had a pretty good night on the bump. 3 1/3 innings, 4 hits allowed. Did give up 2 runs, but also had 6 strikeouts. Here in a 4-4 game. 1-1 from the 6'4" righty is outside, now 2-1. Getting back, though, to talking about that Bourne and Harwich game. I wonder if you can play a game under protest in the CCBL, because you can bet that Bourne would try and do something of that nature, as this one's grounded through the gap on the left side of the infield. And Michael Curiali, now the final Commodore to reach tonight, but he does so with a 2-out single.
Well, this is
Now batting the catcher.
Curiali starting to break out of that slump just a little bit. Struck out looking twice tonight on the outside corner with a couple of breaking balls, but now gets a pitch to hit and just grounds it through a hole. We've seen Cody Colden start to do that. Curiali did it a couple of times last night, finding a hole, and finally does tonight. And if he can start to string games like this together, he's going to have a much better second half.
Here's Jonathan French for the Commodores, who walked in his last at-bat. And the first pitch to him on the outside corner for strike 1. So after Falmouth and Chatham traded 4 runs through the first 5 innings and only had a combined 4 scoreless half innings, have already been 3 since the 5th, and potentially 1 more here if French goes down, or at least if Curiali can't come around to score. Oh, 0-2 pitch from Falco. On the outside part of the plate, Falco starting to walk towards the dugout, puts his hand over his mouth, stunned that wasn't a called 3rd strike, but it's now 1-2.
Didn't miss by much, if it missed at all.
Falco shakes off a pitch for Max Romero Jr. and now has it set. The 1-2 delivery is swung on and missed, and Jonathan French goes down swinging for the 3rd time tonight, and David Falco comes in, gives up a single, but otherwise spotless through the 2/3 of an inning that the reliever out of Maryland comes on for. We'll move to the 8th, still 4-4, here from the Gov.
And it is now time to announce the winners of our game tonight.
Say it's good.
Lucas Gordon on the mound for Falmouth for the 5th time out of the bullpen this summer as he comes on in relief of Jackson Phipps, who pitched really well for Falmouth in his 8th outing of the summer. 3 innings, just 2 hits allowed, 1 run across, and picked up 3 strikeouts in the outing tonight. And now leaves it off to the University of Texas left-hander, who faces off against Kenny Lavari to start the inning and drops in ball 1 to start tonight. Gordon last pitched July 20th against Brewster. A tough night for Falmouth here, a 7-1 loss, and Gordon pitched an inning and 2/3 and allowed 4 hits and 2 runs over his 9 batters faced, and this one hit high in the air into right field. Borfin going back. He's at the fence. He goes up, and it's in and out of his glove as it goes up to the wall. Good strong throw into Michael Curiali, but Kenny Lavari starts the inning off with a double. They are going to give that a double, so Lavari starts the inning off in a loud way, and he stands on second.
That ball hit almost too high to get out of here. It needed more of a line drive, more velocity to be a home run. Borfin, though, had a long way to run and just couldn't get there in time for the catch.
So we'll see if Falmouth can hold Chatham here as Garrett Martin comes up. 1 for 3 tonight. Singled back in the 4th. And Gordon with a first pitch strike here to Martin, excuse me. Haven't had a run since the top of the 5th when Chatham brought home Danny Soretti off of a Max Romero Jr. RBI single. Soretti started off that inning with a double, then moved to third on a pass ball before Romero Jr. brought him home. And Falmouth trying to avoid something similar here in the 8th. Here's the 0-2 from the left-hander. Down in the dirt. Really good stop by Jonathan French, and the count goes to 1-2. But Falmouth, though, love to win this ballgame. The 2 teams they're battling for alongside them in the Western Division locked in a 1-1 tie in the top of the 7th in Wareham. So we'll see how that plays out. A tie works in a smaller way to the Commodores' favor than a win does. A win doesn't do anything to help Falmouth, but a tie a little bit better because the way mod win percentage is calculated is you take all your wins and half your ties, so and then divide that by the number of games played. So essentially a tie, just half a win rather than a full win for the mod win percentage. Count sits at 1-2 here to Garrett Martin. Lucas Gordon taking a while to look in to Jonathan French for the signs, but now has him. And comes home with the pitch. Again down in the dirt. And it's now 2-2. Well, we've seen Falmouth's bullpen be so good time and time again, but another example here of where they're going to have to hold things in their favor.
Decent start from Pelio tonight. He left the game in line for the win. Run scored right after that off of Phipps, so now it's a no decision for Pelio, but bullpen's got to keep it at a low-scoring amount off of them so that their offense can have a chance to win.
Late swing from Garrett Martin, who goes down via the K, and there's now 1 gone here in the inning.
Jake DeLeo.
Wesley Sweat warming up down for the Commodores. And Adam Stone no longer catching. It's now Taylor Smith out there. But that brings up Jake DeLeo now with 1 gone, and Kenny Lavari still leading off of second here in the top of the 8th. And the first pitch called strike. DeLeo tonight popped out to center in his first at-bat, then reached on a fielder's choice and came around to score in the 4th. And then his last appearance at the plate in the 6th, he walked before being out at second on a fielder's choice. 0-1 on the inside part of the plate, and it's now 0-2. So Gordon has responded in a strong way after giving up the leadoff double to Lavari. And he went around, says the home plate umpire, E. Tyler Bullock. So back-to-back Ks here for Lucas Gordon, and quickly 2 gone.
Well, that's how you help yourself. Get a couple of strikeouts and now 2 outs. The infield will take it to first on the ground. Guy on second, though, still got to worry about it, but it's the bottom of the order. Lyle Miller-Green does have an RBI double tonight. But for Gordon, all kinds of confidence now after a couple of strikeouts in a row.
Gordon coming into this outing, 9 strikeouts to 2 walks on the year, so now 11 Ks to just 2 walks for the left-hander. And drops the first pitch strike here on Lyle Miller-Green. So continuing to settle in more and more as this inning has progressed. And he swings through strike 2, so Lucas Gordon now with an opportunity to pick up his 3rd strikeout of the inning. And strike out the side after giving up the leadoff double to Lavari. And more importantly, keep it a 4-4 ball game. Here's the 0-2 delivery. Down in the dirt. Lyle Miller-Green started to go around, but holds his bat back. They peel down at first and confirm that he did not go around. There's strike 3 from Lucas Gordon, who's fired up after the inning. After giving up a leadoff double to Kenny Lavari, he strikes out 3 batters in a row and picks up all outs via his arm here this half inning. We go to the bottom of the 8th. 4-4, Falmouth looking for that late push and that late lead here from the Gov.
Luke Boyer.
Bottom of the 8th in a 4-4 game between Falmouth and Chatham. And Luke Boyer stepping to the plate for the Commodores to start off this inning with 9-1-2 set to come up for the home side. And the first pitch that Boyer sees, he hits the opposite way into left field. Going over to his right, Jake DeLeo, and he makes the grab on the run for out number 1.
Boyer's just missing an extra base hit there. If that's farther down the line or more of a line drive, it's probably in. So just got under it a bit to the other side.
Back to the top of the lineup for Cody Colden, who's 3 for 4 in tonight's ball game. His first 3-hit game of the summer here with Falmouth. He had a couple of multi-hit games, but finally gets up to 3 in a contest. And the first pitch from Falco gets away from E. Tyler Bullock for ball one. Well, moments ago, we got something here a treat that's not even on the menu here at the Gov. A burger with the Cajun fried pickles on it and a special sauce that the Gator Man has made for us to try and review here on our broadcast. Still waiting for what I think is probably the best item they have, the deep fried Oreos. But, Matt, this burger and these fried pickles especially look really good.
They do. They look really good. I would like the Oreos too, but we'll get that at another point. Got a couple more games.
We will. 2-1 now here on Colden. So we're going to go ahead and give this a try, see how it tastes, and see where we get from. Have you had the fried pickles yet here?
I have not, but they also have this sauce on, so I'm excited.
They do. So there's a special sauce on the burger as well. So we're going to try and see what these look like, or what they taste like, not what they look like. Let's see. I'm going to give a bite in here to it. That's really good.
These pickles are good.
Here's count now 3-2 here on Colden. But you can see here the pickles, the secret sauce, the burger right there are really good. It's actually really tasty.
What's the rating?
I think you have to give it an 8 or 9 out of 10. I mean, the burger's cooked well, which I like. I'm more of a guy who likes his burgers cooked on the more medium well side. So it doesn't have too much pink, which I like. I love fried pickles. I said that last time we tried them. And I don't know what the secret sauce is, but it's really good.
The sauce on the pickles I'm going to have to say 8 or 9 as well. Pretty good.
It is really good. That 10 out of 10 may be reserved for the fried Oreos. We got to wait and see.
We'll wait.
But we'll get around to that. Is this one blooped up into the infield? And the shortstop, Danny Soretti, there for the grab. So Casey Harford makes the second out of this inning. And Colden's still on first.
Number 16, Jace Orphan.
Should keep doing these food reviews. Get some dinner during the game. Especially tonight, a long one.
Approaching 3 hours in tonight's contest. It's my first time doing play-by-play with food in my mouth. First pitch to Borfin, fouled off the helmet of Max Romero Jr. and in our direction for the first strike. Nothing beats a night at the ballpark, but throw in some food too, and it just gets that much better. Especially when you get a specialty item from a location. That's one thing that I think I didn't realize that coming to the Cape this summer, just how much each concession stand is different, because you've got your common ballpark foods, but there's so much more than just that. As Jace Borfin strikes out to end the inning, and David Falco gives up a walk to Cody Colden, but otherwise avoids any damage in the eighth. We'll move to the ninth. 4-4 still our score here in Falmouth. We move to the 9th and the last opportunity for each of these teams to try and add to their 4-run score as Chatham set to bring up 9-1-2 here in the 9th, with Lucas Gordon still on the mound for Falmouth going into his second inning of the night. And Garcia shows bunt, drops one really nicely down the first base side, but just a little too much on it, and it rolls foul. These teams had offense aplenty in the first 5 innings, but since it's been a pitcher's battle between a few different arms out of the bullpens. Here's the 0-1 now from Gordon. They get 0-2. Just finishing up that conversation we were having in the last half inning. Coming here to the Cape, I never expected so many specialty items. YD typically has a donut burger. Unfortunately, this year they don't have it, but typically they have that there. Joanne was doing food reviews at all the stadiums while she was still with us here with the team. And, I mean, here we've got the Gator Man who makes some phenomenal Cajun stuff along with some really good fried Oreos. And I've heard that they also make fresh cookies in there that tend to sell out early in ball games.
See, they got to make us a batch to go home with.
Keep them giving them these positive shout-outs on the air, I'm sure.
Yeah. Then we'll get some.
Definitely, though. We're lucky, though, because this is not an item on the menu. This burger that we got with the fried pickles on it, we may have to tell him to make it a top-of-the-menu item because that was top-notch.
That would get a lot of people to go there and try it.
Yeah.
And then they would like it, so they'd come back.
2-2, and there's strike 3 from Lucas Gordon. Make that now 4 straight strikeouts for the Texas Longhorn going back to the last inning. And there's one gone here in the 9th.
37, Danny
Just
Serrati.
after that leadoff double back in the 8th, he's really settled in. He's getting ahead of hitters in the bottom third of the order and just attacking them, and that's what he's been doing all season, an all-star here this summer in the league.
We go back to the top of the lineup for Danny Serrati, who's had a dangerous bat tonight for Chatham. 2 for 3 with 2 doubles for strike 1. Had 0 extra base hits coming into tonight's contest and picked up 2 doubles here against the Commodores and came around to score both times that he reached via the double. And he's now behind 0-2. Wesley Sweat still up in the bullpen for the Commodores, but I'd assume that this would be Lucas Gordon's outing to finish. And they appeal down to first and say he did not go around. A close play there from the bat of Serrati, but it's now 1-2. Well, how wild would it be that a matchup of the opening night could potentially finish here in another tie? 7-7 was the score in night 1. Falmouth had an opportunity to win that ballgame. They went into the 9th ahead 7-6, but the Anglers scored a run in the top of the 9th, and Falmouth couldn't walk it off. And same thing here tonight as a breaking ball drops on the outside corner of the plate perfectly by Gordon for another strikeout.
That is nasty from Gordon. Nasty.
Matt Hogan.
You're not going to hit that if that's the first time you see it, and Gordon brought that out as a strikeout pitch and just executed perfectly.
Well, 1 out remaining here for this Anglers team, and Matt Hogan steps to the plate. Gordon has 5 straight strikeouts, and he starts this at-bat with another strike. So just continuing to deal here tonight. Gordon didn't have more than 4 strikeouts in an outing this summer, and those 4 Ks came over 3 innings in his debut at YD. But tonight he has 5 strikeouts through an inning and 2/3, and he has an opportunity to make it 6 if he can strike out Matt Hogan. Here's the 1-1 now from the left-hander. Make it 1-2. Katua and Wareham still tied now in the bottom of the 8th up at Spillane Field. So if that scoreline holds and this scoreline holds, Falmouth would still hold on to second place in the Western Division with 9 games to go in the summer. But most of those games remaining coming against Katua, Wareham, and Hyannis. Just one more game after, well, actually 2 more after tonight against Eastern Division teams. Tomorrow night at Chatham for a 7 o'clock first pitch, and then on Wednesday back at home against Harwich before closing things out against the West. Here's the 2-2, and it's now full. It's going to be an exciting finish, Matt.
I'm just happy to be in a position to have those games be so high leverage towards the end of the season, and it's probably going to come down to the last day, I'd have to guess. And the Commodores are going to have to take on Bourne in the final game. But we'll see how everything goes over the next 9 games after tonight. Still have to see how tonight plays out. But it's going to be an exciting finish between 3 teams that are fighting for one spot, essentially, or they are. But Falmouth has a couple of games against each of those 2 teams they're fighting against in Katuitt and Wareham. So if they're able to win those, you're going to be in a good spot.
Go-ahead run on now for Chatham as Matt Hogan stands at first after Lucas Gordon issues the 2-out walk. And here's Caden Trinkle now, who reached in his last at-bat off of a walk from Jackson Phipps, but doesn't have a base hit tonight. 0 for 3 officially. And another ball from Lucas Gordon. Four runs on 9 hits and 1 error for Chatham tonight. And the exact same line for the Commodores. 4 runs on 9 hits with an error as well, as Gordon brings home strike 1. We'll be on the air tomorrow night around 6:50 out at Veterans Field. The furthest east team in the Cape Cod League. Edmond Orleans, very similar, but Chatham's ballpark, Veterans Field, just a bit further east than Eldridge. As Gordon's now ahead at 1-2. And I think for both Matt and I, Veterans Field, our favorite road venue this summer. We're fortunate because Commodores play most of the East just 3 times against each team. But Chatham and Falmouth have 4 meetings against one another. And Lucas Gordon, who came on in the 8th, struck out 3 batters in the 8th, struts off the mound after striking out 3 more batters in the 9th. It's to the bottom of the 9th we go here from the Gov. Falmouth with an opportunity to win it here at home.
T-shirt launch event happening.
We go to the bottom of the ninth, and it's do or tie for the Commodores as we go to this inning. An opportunity to win it here in this half inning. If not, Commodores at least get a half a win out of it tonight, going by the mod win percentage, as Chris Armstrong, Taylor Smith, and Anthony Hall set to come to the plate tonight. All guys who have extra base hits and who have RBIs tonight. And Chris Armstrong was looking to end it on one swing there, as he's behind now against David Falco, who's still on the mound for Chatham. The Commodores dugout up at the very front steps. No rally caps on because it's still a 4-4 game, not playing from behind. Falco's only allowed 2 base runners over his inning in 2/3 tonight. Gave up a single to Michael Curiali in the 7th, and then gave up a walk to Cody Colden in the 8th. But he's been locked in on the mound. Couple of strikeouts here for the Maryland pitcher. But Armstrong able to fight it off and continue to stay alive. Haven't been in too many ball games this summer where Falmouth has an opportunity to walk it off. But they do so here as the 1-2, now 2-2. And the dugout for the Commodores about as active as we've heard all night, cheering on Armstrong, who leads off the inning. Oh, this one, a charge into right field, going back, Matt Hogan, he turns, and it's gone!
Home run!
Back-to-back days where Chris Armstrong goes yard, but no swing bigger than that one for the Florida first baseman. He's going to touch them all at the Gov, and Falmouth wins it in walk-off fashion.
That's an absolute missile and a moonshot for Chris Armstrong. He swung at the first pitch, and he looked like he wanted to put it over the fence. But that one he made contact with was long gone. And now, not only does he pick up the win for Falmouth, but now he leads the team in home runs as well. Chris Armstrong, unbelievable. And finally, the Commodores coming in clutch where they have chances to win here at home in the 9th inning. They finally get it done. Chris Armstrong, one swing of the bat, leads off the bottom of the 9th with a walk-off home run, and the Commodores extend their winning streak to 4 straight games.
A well-deserved ice bath for Chris Armstrong after one of the biggest swings of the summer by any Falmouth Commodore. It took until the 27th game of the year, but the Commodores have a walk-off win here at home, and it comes from the Florida Gator, who tonight ends his night with 2 RBIs, 2 extra base hits, and every time he stepped up to the plate, he reached base.
Chris Armstrong, unbelievable. Since he got here, has just been an engine in the middle of this offense. The first baseman out of Florida, what do you immediately think of when you hear that? Pete Alonso. They have the same exact physique, just big guys that play first base, but Armstrong can hit from both sides of the plate, likes to hit better from the left side, does here in the 9th, and just absolutely crushes one into the night sky here at the Gov. That was a no-doubter, and everybody here knew it. The dugout flooded as soon as he made contact with that. Just an unbelievable sight to see. This team winning 4 in a row now, making that late push towards the postseason, and things are starting to get a little bit more special here as we head toward the end of the year.
4 wins in a row now for the Falmouth Commodores, who improved to 12-13-2 on the summer. And this team just every day seems to find new life, new ways to win ball games, and bring new runs across against their opposition. Chatham with the loss tonight drops to 10-17-3 on the season, as the Anglers have now lost 3 in a row and have a long drive back east after this one tonight. But such a great night at the ballpark for the Commodores. Matt and I will sum it all up and talk with the game-winning man in closing the door, so keep an eye out for that later tonight. But that'll do it tonight here from Gulf Fuller Field as Falmouth wins it in the bottom of the 9th, 5-4 on the 10th hit of the ball game. Chris Armstrong ends it with a walk-off home run, his 6th shot of the year. For my broadcast partner, Matt Levine, our director, Adriana Condro, our beat writer Tommy Mumar, and our entire crew here in Falmouth. David Adar signing off here from the Gov. We'll be back on the road tomorrow night at Veterans Field to take on Chatham once again. A 7 o'clock first pitch out there. But until then, have a great rest of your night. Falmouth wins it on a walk-off 5-4 tonight at the Gov.